Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Cool. Hey everyone, welcome to 4Player Podcast, episode 747. My name is Nick Henderson. I am joined tonight by Brad Simons.
Yo.
Nolan Hedstrom. I don't know why I put that odd space in there.
Hey, how you doing, everybody?
Christopher Davis.
Good evening.
And joining us after a long hiatus, Crispy is back.
Hello.
Crispy.
Has it really been that?
It's been like a month, which it feels like a while to me.
Been a while.
Crispy, you're still in the midst of a PC build, right? Am I right?
Yup. I'm looking at it, looking at the mountain of parts right now, and they are intimidating.
Just taunting you? Okay. Well, we're glad to have you back. It's been lonely here without
Promise
you.
though, once this thing is built, it is gonna be fucking sick.
Once you have it built, you're gonna have the best PC of all of us.
I better,
because we can't let that stand.
Build a PC.
Because goddamn.
I'd hope that he build a PC in 2023 and that it's better than my PC that I built years ago. Otherwise, he made some strange choices, Chris Davis.
Anyways, guys, welcome to the show. It's we have a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about the PSVR2, which launched and I picked up. So we'll talk about that. But I also want to have a bigger conversation about just kind of like what that thing is and what it means for Sony and like what we actually expect from it going forward, because this is not exactly the first time Sony has delved into the world of VR. So we'll talk about that in the second segment. But we also have Atomic Heart. We have Like a Dragon Ishin. We have we're going to start tonight with Theatrhythm here in just a minute.
I was sort of just meaning, but hey,
Theatrhythm?
fuck it.
Theatrhythm? How do you say it?
Theatrhythm?
Theatrhythm?
Theatrhythm.
Theatrhythm? That's
That
almost
is
like... No, I got the muscle memory for Theatrhythm, and now like going back to Theatrhythm is like too many syllables. Hate it.
Yeah, I just want to say I cannot write the name of that game without looking up the spelling each and every time. No matter how confident.
Nick can't spell rhythm.
I really, it's one of those words that I always struggle with. And no matter how many times I look it up, I always forget and I always end up looking it up again. It's the H, man. It's the H and the Y that throw me off in their placement.
I agree. It's a fucked up word.
It is a fucked up word. So yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight, but before we get too far, a couple quick things. One, I want to quickly plug a podcast that I was a guest on this week. If you've been watching The Last of Us on HBO, I was a guest on Fantasy Files Reacts, which is a podcast that usually talks about like fantasy novels and whatnot, but they occasionally veer off the path to do other things. So I had a nice long conversation about the last two episodes of The Last of Us, actually the whole series in general. So if you want, I'll put the link for that in the show notes. So I encourage you guys to check that out. And I also want to give you a quick update on our Fantasy Critic League, because some stuff has happened. Chris Davis is smiling. Chris Davis is smiling real big.
I don't know what you're talking about. I have no
Chris
idea.
Davis just dabbed.
He learned how to dab finally. Jesus. Wait, let's see it one more time.
Just dabbing on the haters is all.
So apparently, okay. I just want to clarify
how
something.
far
I'm not
we've
hating, dude. This is an underdog story, and I'm on your
Dude,
side. This is
no,
awesome.
it's not. Like you guys are
It
insane.
is.
This
Dude,
means nothing.
No,
it means nothing.
No, Crispy, you shut up. You give him his fucking moment, because he was
Okay,
clowned so hard. He was clowned
Congratulations.
so hard.
Turn it
by
into
the
points.
MK pick.
Turn it into points, and then we'll talk.
Well, it is. You
Turn
think
it
MK's gonna?
into points,
You think it's
Also-
gonna be like a?
and then we'll
like
talk.
MK?
I mean, here's the thing, man. I'm not worried. I'm not.
We haven't even
worried.
said what we're talking about, guys.
Yeah,
You got to realize this is an audio podcast. Today, during I guess it was an earnings call, they kind of unofficially or officially, I don't know, confirmed that Mortal Kombat 12 is scheduled to release
Oh,
in
I thought it was part of
2023.
the Sony thing.
No. This is an earnings call.
No,
thing.
it
This
was it was an investor call. The CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery just kind of threw it out there, like it
doing
was a
damage
thing that
control.
everybody knew.
That doesn't mean
Yeah,
quite as much.
exactly.
So right, yeah. So it is
I
important.
thought it was
to note,
part of the state of play.
It is important to note that while Mortal Kombat 12 was acknowledged, its existence was acknowledged by Warner Brothers today, it was not officially announced in any real capacity other than appearing on this investor call. But Chris Davis, to your credit, that seems like a pretty reasonable assumption at this point, is that they will be making an official announcement soon. Probably
Ed
around
Boon
E3
on Twitter,
time, I'm guessing.
Commented on it.
Yeah.
Ed Boon's reply was great. Oh man, it was so good.
What did he say? I mean, I'm assuming he confirmed it, or
no, he said y'all hear about the Injustice 3 announcement today?
Oh.
Which maybe he's not joking. Right? Maybe he's not joking.
Well, the people on the investment calls, like, maybe they don't know what the fuck they're actually talking about, and it was actually Injustice 3.
Dude, I don't know. Stock prices went up, so like.
Can I say?
What if
say,
people were like, "You deceived us"? If we knew it was an Injustice game coming out,
I just want to
price
say
wouldn't have risen
this is
so
the
much.
kind of story, the drama, the narrative of our fantasy league that we needed. This is the action. This is the good shit.
Nothing.
That was no. That was, we all agreed that was like the most suspect choice of the night. We all agreed.
It was.
Right. And he did it like as a third pick, which is the insane part, right? And we come on. We basically wrote off his list, which was a bit much. Because he picked a game that was not even announced. I'm just saying, we wrote off his list.
It changes nothing. You're right. That was the ridiculous cherry on the shit Sunday. You're right, but
I'm just saying, it was a clown show. He was putting on his clown makeup, right? And we were all ragging on him, and he was always like, well, but what if? And he was even kind of like backpedaling, like, oh, maybe we should all pick a silly pick like this, which was like a total lame cop out, right? But whatever, he got his wish, and apparently it's coming, and it was good because this was one of your safe like counter picks, Crispy. I think you got a couple of good safe counter picks, and this was going to be a 0-pointer, which is really good for a counter pick, and now. You're zero.
I mean, it's still a good counter pick.
All right, it's
still a good counter pick.
Yeah, but your counter picks are both going after me. Like it almost feels personal.
We need these kinds of stories.
I have more counter picks than anybody but fucking Carlos. Like, I don't want to fucking.
We all have the same.
We have the same number of counter picks.
No. I mean, locks. 3. Middle Out Entertainment has one title locked. Dark Passenger has 2 titles locked. I have fucking 3. I can't drop anything. I can't do anything. Like, you guys can all jump up your own asses and die. Like,
no, you're the one talking up a big game. That's the risk you play by picking a game that doesn't have an early year date. I mean, that's what you get.
But let's be real here. This is Chris Davis we're talking about here. He might get all excited about his Mortal Kombat win and be like, fuck it, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to claim an unannounced Mario title.
A few days ago, I was looking at his list and I was like, outside of Mortal Kombat, he has a pretty strong list. And now he has Mortal Kombat.
But again, and we need to move on. But again, this is an investor call. They say coming out in 2023. That does not necessarily mean it's going to actually land in 2023.
Yeah, I mean, it's like.
No, it's true. It's true.
But
I thought
it's like a fuckboy chat up line. They're going to say whatever to get in the investor's pants. Like,
but there are other things to mention here. Since the last time we recorded, there's been several high-profile releases that were on our lists that have released that have scores. We're racking up some points. We're losing some points. Wild Hearts came out. I think it was sitting at like an 81 the last time I checked. I think that's on was that on Nolan's list? Yeah, that's on Nolan's list, right? Octopath Traveler 2 also sitting at an 81 on Crispy's list. So that's
Octopath Traveler 2 is higher than that.
No, I think last time I checked,
it's an 86.
It's an 86.
Yeah.
Damn, Crispy got 16 points. Look at that.
You're probably thinking Company of Heroes.
Oh yeah, you're right. Company of Heroes 3 came out. sitting in an 81. Atomic Heart came out sitting at a 74. I'm gonna be honest, so we're gonna talk about Atomic Heart tonight, but like that, my best case scenario came to pass because Atomic Heart was one of those games I didn't want to counterpick because I really wanted it to be good, but I was also trying to pick a kind of maybe a safe counterpick. So I was worried if it was really good, I was going to lose a bunch of points. If it was really bad, I was going to be sad because I didn't get a game that I enjoyed. But
Atomic Heart was a really good counterpick, but you were
I know.
kind of voting against your heart on that one.
I was voting against I was picking against my heart on that one because I wanted to make sure I accrued some points, and I figured it was probably a safer bet that it was going to perform poorly versus perform positively. But it's setting out of 74, which means Crispy picked up a couple points. I didn't lose a ton, and I'm going to talk about it tonight. I'm really enjoying that game so far. So like best case scenario for Atomic Heart, which is great.
No, it's not the best case scenario. It's the worst case scenario.
For me, it's best case scenario.
You get bullied for loving these low 70s games.
I don't give a shit.
But
this is my next Days Gone. I don't give a shit. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a good chance this is going to replace Days Gone for me as the game that everybody loves to talk about. How much Nick loves Atomic Heart. Yeah, no.
You like it that much, dude? Why don't we just start with that shit?
No. I mean, do you want to?
I don't give a shit. Let's just start.
Okay, fine. Let's start with Atomic Heart then. Roll the footage.
Fine.
Nolan actually Roland. I just said Roland.
Roll the scammer footage.
Nolan started playing Atomic Heart as well, but he's only played about 45 minutes of it. No, I recorded this.
Yeah. Hey, Brad, if I had recorded this footage, you'd see a whole lot of nothing because this game has like an over an hour intro of nothing happening.
I gotta say, this seems a little like off-brand for you.
The only reason I even looked at it is because it was on Game Pass.
Game Pass, yeah.
And so it was a quick like download and just to check it out. And so far, I've done all of nothing in the game.
I was like, Chris Davis, are you going to play this? Because, it looks like a Chris Davis game. And Chris Davis was like, no, I'm waiting for it to go on sales. Like, Game Pass, man. Why can we not
Chris
get this
Davis,
motherfucker on
this
Game
is
Pass?
like your shit too, right? No one likes Russian games more than you.
Yeah, playing a Russian game right now is a really good idea.
Yeah. So let's I'm not here to talk about that aspect of it because that's going to get weird real fast.
I see it.
Yeah. But this game has been in development for quite a while, since long before all this shit started happening. But let me just say, Atomic Heart, this is, if it sounds familiar to you, it's the game that everybody sees and it's like, oh, that looks a lot like, kind of a modern day BioShock. And it's set in like an alternate version of the Soviet Union. And it's very like BioShock Infinite-esque, where they've like created this like utopia that floats in the clouds and they're doing all kinds of experiments and shit. But it's also been like what?
Looked more like a modern day We Happy Few to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some comparisons to be made there as well. But this has also been one of those games that for the longest time, especially after they started showing footage of it, that like, I mean, we've had this conversation on this podcast too, where we look at it and we're like, something's fishy. Like, this doesn't look, is this even a real game, or is this like a fancy tech demo? Is this going to be one of those things where it looks amazing on footage and then it comes out and it's like a huge, hot, stinking mess kind of thing?
Or just that like it looks nice, but like maybe it feels like shit. Or
yeah.
Or like,
and also like there's a game that came out a couple of years ago that I played, and I always forget its name because it's kind of weird. But it's like it looks very similar to this in terms of its like setting and whatnot. Maybe somebody in chat can remember it. It starts with an I. Industria. I played Industria, which is very, very similar to this in terms of its setting. It's inspiration from BioShock and everything, but it's also a game you can finish in like 3.5-4 hours. So like, any number of things were running through my head about what this was, which is why I counterpicked it. So I was like, something seems fishy. And, we ask ourselves, like, is this even a fucking real video game? And having played this now for about 8 hours, like, not only is it a real video game, it is a lot of video game. That at least,
how much have you played?
I played about 8 hours of this so far.
Well, how do you know it's a lot?
Well, I mean, I'm hearing like 20 to 30 hour game. And I'm basing and I'm thinking about what I've already experienced. Like Nolan, this is like Nolan can testify, like the opening sequence of this game alone is like before you even pick up a gun is over like 30 to 45 minutes.
Dude, it's pretty long. They do a lot of like world building and just kind of showing it is definitely like showing off what they've done and stuff. And so, showing off like, kind of getting used to what this, alternate universe of the Soviet Union is in kind of like what it's become. Yeah.
Introducing you to all like the science and like the way that the society like relies on robots for everything. And before like everything goes, it's kind of like if you were to play BioShock Infinite but get there before the downfall of Columbia, you get to kind of see all of it unfold in real time, which is really cool. But then once you finally do get into the game and you get a weapon and you're kind of in the thick of it, like it kind of takes you underground immediately into this like basically what is like a dungeon, but it's like an underground lab area that you spend like 2.5-3 hours down there before you even like come up to the surface again. And now you're in like a semi-open world. Actually, it's a collection of like very large open areas, and that's what this footage is I'm in one of these big open spaces. So it's not like open world in the traditional sense, but it's like a bunch of open spaces kind of pieced or connected together with like a tram system,
like Stalker kind of.
Yeah.
I'd say
I mean, to be honest, I have spent more time underground in that facility than I have exploring the open spaces of it. But I've spent like 2.5-3 hours already in this part here, and this is just one area, and I know there's multiple. But
you know what? This is a weird aside, but like, and someone in chat says this kind of looks like Stalker. How come every single game made in like Russia or like Eastern Europe or wherever is this? Why is this the only thing they make? I want to see like some fucking like a cartoon brawler or something. Come on.
I would say that is a fair question, because you have stock. Like I'm thinking about like I just played Chernobylite recently, and that's kind of the same thing. And
all of
then
the
we got
BioShock knockoffs, all of the BioShock knockoffs that have come out over the years since BioShock have been from that part of the world.
Yeah,
it's like their favorite game or something.
But what I will say is that like personally, I have had like a BioShock shaped hole in my heart that hasn't been filled, I think, in quite a while. In fact, I'm serious, but I knew you were gonna.
No, I'm just thinking of jokes, but I'm keeping it on myself.
I'm just like I think about like my current relationship with like first person shooters and how I just don't play a lot anymore. I tend to gravitate towards other genres. I think about like the ones that stand out in my head are the ones that like try something really different, and then after that they kind of recycle. Like I think about my first time playing like Far Cry 3, and then they just kind of drove that formula into the ground. But I remember my first time playing that game and being like, this is awesome, I love this. But then they did like a bunch of them, and I lost interest in it. And BioShock is just one of those series that has always stood out to me as like a really unique take on the first person shooter genre that like combines like really great atmosphere and like storytelling with it. So I've always loved it, but I just haven't had a lot of those. I think about like maybe Arcane is the closest. Like I think about Prey maybe is the last one that's kind of close to this, because it's also kind of an RPG, and this does have a lot of like RPG elements to it and stuff. So like it's just been few and far between. But I've been kind of like patiently waiting for like BioShock 4 to be announced, right? Which is we've known for a while, which has been rumored and that they're working on it. We're just kind of waiting for that announcement to come.
Well,
but
we've
like
also got
now that
Judas coming.
Yeah, we got Judas coming, but like, and Judas might also be kind of like this, you know what I mean? Especially since it's Ken Levine. But I've just been waiting for a new BioShock, because I don't feel like there's a lot of BioShocks out there. And now that I've played like 8 hours or so of this, I'm kind of like, it's just scratching that itch that I've been waiting for.
All right. Enough intro. Tell me about this game. How is it fucking? What's up?
I think personally, this is going to be one of those divisive games. This you can already kind of tell when you look at the reviews, because right, it's like sitting at like a 74 kind of on open.
You're doing it again. You tell me about this game.
I'm trying to get there, man. I'm just saying there's gonna be a dividing line, because I've already talked to people in our own Discord who don't necessarily think it feels great, and I think this game plays like a dream, just in terms of like the first person shooting controls, how you're swapping in and out weapons, you're using like telekinesis powers, you're using freeze powers, you're upgrading all of these abilities and chaining these things together in really interesting ways.
So the tools they give you are fun to use.
Hell yeah!
Do they mean like the shooting, like the gunplay, like the feedback, like what are they talking about when they say?
I did have somebody, and I apologize if you're in chat. Listen, I don't remember who. I think it was J2 or something in Discord said that he thought the enemies felt really spongy. And then I was kind of trying to like drill down to that conversation because I don't feel that. First of all, they're robots, so yeah, they usually don't die in like one hit. You have to kind of pump it full of bullets before they go down. But it didn't feel like a egregious or anything, and I feel like the feedback you get when you're shooting these robots is really great. But then he ended up telling me he's playing on like the hardest difficulty, and I was like, well maybe that's why you're struggling, because I'm playing this game, and I'm playing on normal. I mean, I always play on normal, but it feels balanced. I think it feels balanced for normal. I think the whole game is built around the normal difficulty, so I can't really comment on how it changes. And some people just like to play on the hardest difficulty, and that's what they're always going to do. I don't know, but on normal, I think this game feels really great. And the things that I think that it does that are unique, that are really really cool. One, Brad, I think you're really going to like this aspect of it. Maybe I'm wrong, but you know how I think back when The Last of Us 2 came out, and you were like obsessed with like how you could hold a button and just pick up all the items instead of having to like tap it a bunch. You have this
you
glove.
don't have to even press a button in Last of Us 2, but yeah,
you
just walk near things and you just. That's the
so
best
like
part.
You had this glove when you had this in this game, and you had this like these tentacle things that kind of come out, and they can like manipulate things in the environment.
It's more than just tentacles. It's like the AI, right, in your glove.
Yeah. The glove has AI, and it controls these like tentacles that come out, but like it also has like a magnetic field. So like you walk into a room that's like full of just cabinets and drawers and shit, and you hold down the button, and he puts his hand out, and all the drawers come flying open, and shit just comes flying out of them and goes into your inventory.
Oh fuck, that's cool.
And you walk into like any room, and it's just like the most satisfying shit. Like you walk into a room, and you're like, it's like vacuuming up all the collectibles, and all those collectibles go into your inventory, and that shit is critical to like upgrading your weapons, upgrading your abilities. And the other really cool thing about this game, and they tout this right up front, is because you do have a lot of flexibility in terms of like the weapons and the powers and stuff, but like at any point you can respec, and there's no punishment for it. If you want to switch to a different ability, you can basically refund that whole thing. You get everything that you ever pumped into it back, so that you can just plug it in somewhere else.
Why does he keep going?
Wait, what?
That's his scan ability. That's his ability to scan the environment.
Yeah, you scan the environment. You have to hold up your hand like an L, and then it like, which is admittedly kind of weird, but like I like the effect it creates, and it like the way that you scan the environment is actually really really helpful in this game, and it actually, especially in like dark environments, it helps you see, because there's actually no flashlight, which I think is kind of strange. So like you can use that ability to like kind of see the layout and see enemies in through the walls and stuff. So it's pretty functional.
I might have missed you saying this, but does this do that thing in BioShock where when you upgrade your weapon, it like changes the weappon's model?
Yeah,
and like
it
adds
does.
like, oh, that's so cool. I love that.
Yeah. Every time,
I love that. Like, because everything always looks so like ad hoc and like just kind of jury rigged on there. Like,
yeah. And you see on the like the shotgun I'm holding, you see that kind of thing near the end of the barrel that's kind of coming off the left side of it. That's an actual mod that you can add to most weapons, and it allows you to like pick up these capsules that have limited use, but they're like fire, ice,
like
or whatever.
A fire one in there, yeah.
Yeah, and you can like twist it on, and you can apply that and stuff, which is really cool.
That's kind of sick.
Hold on. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, the plasma ability or like the telekinesis abilities are really cool. So far, like the one that I love literally just like lifts enemies into the air and just like dangles them above you, so you can like just shoot them while they're floating, which is really really cool. But it also has that thing with like games that have like robot enemies that I think is really great, where it's just like when you're shooting them, they're like breaking apart and like pieces are flying off. You can like blow their face off, and you can see like the inner workings of their the robot inner workings. That, and I love that shit. You have a question, Brad?
You
stopped me for a second.
I'm wondering. We're going to be talking about this for a while, right? I guess. Still, I'm just.
Yeah, I have a question.
Your impressions in this footage look about as as like suspect as the fucking trailers. So my question for you is like, why is this game so divisive? Where do you think
I can tell you right now,
are?
and I can tell
Like,
you
it's
right
getting
now
some pretty bad scores from some people.
Let me tell you where I think that is, and this is why I think there's going to be a pretty harsh dividing line. And ironically, it can be traced back to something very similar to Days Gone, not entirely, but there's a lot of people.
Yourself, Nick.
No, there are a lot. I know. I don't care. I embrace it. There are a lot of people who are really annoyed by the dialogue in this game, and that, like, when you're playing with the English dub, like the character. Here's the weird thing about this game, because everybody's saying like the writing is really bad and the dialogue is really bad, and I don't think the acting I think is really good. The weird thing is that the acting is good, but the lines that he's delivering are sometimes very suspect. He's very juvenile.
The problem is that this game was made by a Russian developer, and the primary language this was written in and acted in was in Russian. So right. For English, they didn't put in the effort to do re-lip syncs or change it to the pace of the dialogue. They just edited the audio to fit the time span of which that line needs to be said.
But that particular issue only comes
like 90s anime.
Pretty much.
But the problem is that particular issue only comes up in like cutscenes where you're actually seeing other characters moving their lips. And I would honestly say I've never noticed that. I personally have not noticed that issue. I know people have talked about it, and I've only played 8 hours of it, so maybe it becomes more apparent later. But the other thing is, if it really bothers you that much, especially if the main character's personality and dialogue bothers you that much, play it in a different language. Like, play it in Russian. Like, you won't even notice.
I mean, I will also note that even as little of this game that I have played, the main character like won't shut the fuck up.
He talks a lot, but
he talks way too much.
He talks a lot, but he doesn't repeat dialogue a lot, and his personality is very sassy. I think
he says fuck a lot.
He says fuck a lot. He's very sassy. He's like a smart ass all the time. But like, ironically, the guy who's delivering the lines, I think, is doing a really great job. It's just the actual writing that he's given is suspect at times.
Well, and voice direction, I imagine. Like, it's probably yeah.
But I will also say, like,
you playing in English, Nick?
I am playing in English, but like, that's mostly just because I don't like, I'm not a huge fan of reading subtitles. So like, it's not bothering me.
First, Nick can't read.
It's not bothering me so much that
Nick hates subtitles. That's ableist, Nick.
Well, I mean, I've how dare you? Don't throw me under the bus. I will read subtitles when it's necessary.
Nick, what does this say? Quick, what does this say?
Ice cubes. It says ice cubes, Brad.
I think he just recognized the package.
Yeah, that's probably it. Yeah.
You got me,
Nick, I have a very important question for you.
What's up?
Have you fucked that fridge yet?
Okay. Oh, okay. So, okay. No.
Why do you keep going to this thing in the footage? I'm so confused.
What thing? Well, I'm here. Okay. Let me just a couple quick things. I know we don't want to talk about this all night, but I will answer your question in a second, Chris Davis. Brad, this game is, and another reason why I started this whole conversation by saying this is a lot of game, is that I was kind of expecting this to be a very kind of straightforward first-person shooter, but this has a lot of environmental puzzles, a lot of, in my opinion, interesting like world design in terms of like trying to kind of figure out how everything works and how like the world itself works. I'm talking about at a lower level,
like your fucking gross little moist hole game that you played last year.
Yeah, like Scorn, right? So there's a lot of kind of just like feeling it out, right? Kind of feeling it out and figuring out.
That's like the first interesting thing you've said to me tonight.
Well, so for instance, the thing that you've been watching me try to do, right, is the world has these security bots, right? And they float. They're called hawks. They float in the sky, and if a security camera picks up on anything happening, the hawk releases all these like floating robots out, right, to attack you. So you have to kind of like keep your eye out for the cameras and try not to be spotted by them. You should take them out. But like, you can actually deactivate the hawks by like accessing these terminals. But to access the terminals, you have to kind of explore the world and find the control tower that kind of lets you unlock, or that lets you hack cameras, which you can then use to like remotely unlock doors and stuff. So I was trying to like literally figure out how all that shit worked. in this footage. So that's why I'm kind of going back and forth, running around like a chicken with my head cut off, trying to figure out how the fuck to get into this this room. So, and there's there's tons of puzzles throughout that I've actually really enjoyed.
It's very open,
so far.
or is it linear?
It's very open, dude. I mean, like you go into like these lengthy dungeons that are underground, like labs and shit. But when you're outside of the dungeons, you're in these giant open spaces. Like this is a large area that I'm probably going to be exploring for quite a while. And the other cool thing is those cameras that I talked about. When you destroy them, that hawk thing in the sky will release robots that are sent to repair them. So if you're not careful, they'll come down and they'll actually try to like rebuild the cameras. So you actually have to keep your eye out for those and take those down and stuff. So it's trying to just kind of figure out how the world works is a huge part of the experience. The fridge thing.
Chris Davis knew about the fridge thing, which this reinforces my opinion that he desperately wants to play this game.
So here's the
if you Game Pass it, your money's not going to.
Let's not talk about that. I don't know the specifics.
I'm saying like if he doesn't want to support the dev, he could just Game Pass it.
Right. I mean, but like the game. I mean,
even for $1 probably.
That basically just means that they've already gotten the money. You know what I mean?
Well,
like Microsoft gave it. Microsoft.
I mean, he's not giving his money to the developer.
Sure, but the fridge thing, and this is weird, and I feel like this is going to be a kind of a line in the sand for some people too, because one of the main your upgrade station is like it's not really a fridge, but it's shaped like a fridge, looks like a fridge. So like everyone's joking that it's a fridge, but it has this AI in it, which is this lady who is for whatever reason really horny. And every time you talk to her, she's talking like super dirty to you. And like your character is like, oh my God, stop it. Like, what is wrong with you? But she just can't stop it. She's trying to get you to also like get rid of the glove that you have. So she's like trying to persuade you through like sexual favors or whatever. And it's really weird. And I feel like some people will probably think like, oh, that's really stupid or juvenile, whatever. And they might be right. I think it's pretty fucking funny so far. Maybe that says a lot about me. I don't know. But like
over here playing Dave Jaffe, God of Wars, huh, Nick?
Although, I don't know if that joke is going to outstay its welcome. Again, I feel like I'm still pretty early in this game. This is a game that I think is going to take me quite a while. But to kind of like sum up everything, wrap up, I'm just like super surprised at how much I'm enjoying this and how real of a game this is, because I was literally expecting the opposite. So this is to me like the biggest surprise of the year so far. And
so what? Again, you've been saying that a lot, but you haven't really clarified. Is it more that you were expecting like a short linear thing that looks nice, but there's not much game there? That's what you're kind of.
I mean, I thought it was either going to be that, or is going to be a thing where it's like none of the stuff they showed us before. I was worried that like none of the stuff they actually showed before release was real gameplay, and it was all like and it was gonna look and feel just like complete shit compared to what they were showing us. I thought it was gonna be a bait and switch, is what I thought. And This is actually just a way more than I was ever expecting.
Well, that's good. Do you know like? I know you were saying something about like the writing, but like, again, some of these reviews seem really bad. This is my fault because I haven't really been following this game at all. But like, does it stay like pretty strong all the way through from what you?
Well, that I don't know, and that's what I'm like. That's like at this point, I read like 2 reviews.
I just wonder if it's gonna like fall off a cliff or something like.
Well, I've heard people say that it doesn't really nail. They said it doesn't exactly nail the landing, which is not like the worst thing. Because like, how many games out there can you say nail the landing? You know what I mean? Like that's not uncommon. But there's still a lot. Like I said, there's still a lot of game left for me. So like, it could kind of fall apart. But from a gameplay perspective, I'm loving the shit out of this.
Sure. I just remember our conversations about like Final Fantasy 15 early on. We're like, oh my god, dude, this is so cool and open. You can ride a chocobo in a car, and then it turns into like a linear like crap fest in the back half.
I love like how zany this world. Like there's like the main one of your main contacts that you kind of like befriend is this like old granny who has like a flying house.
Yeah,
she wants your juices.
Yeah, she has a flying house. that she uses to like land on robots.
Can you fly a car around the world?
I don't think so. I mean, like I said, I'm still pretty early. I'm not. Here's the deal. I'm not going to talk about this game again on this podcast until I finished it, because I don't want to keep coming back every week and being like, "Oh, it's still good," or it hasn't got.
That's probably a generally good idea for.
Mr. Papa Shot in chat wants me to mention the music. It is Mick Gordon, so he did all the music for Doom.
He did this thing where like he's selling the soundtrack and all proceeds go to like Ukrainian relief or some shit like that.
Yeah, which is, you know what? As an added bonus, I'll put the link to that if it's still available. I'm assuming it is. I'll put the link to that in the show notes as well. But like the other thing is, it's Mick Gordon, so I feel like everybody kind of has an idea of like what Mick Gordon music sounds like, especially after Doom. And this doesn't sound anything like, if you had told me this was Mick Gordon after I had heard it, I would be like, what? This does not sound like typical Mick Gordon yet. But I don't think he does all the music, so maybe I'm just hearing stuff that's not the Mick Gordon. So I don't know. But anyways, he's involved, and that's pretty cool. So this is a very, very pleasant surprise for me.
Did the developer post that link to his?
I do not know. That's an interesting question. All right. Sorry, I knew that was. I talked a while about Atomic Heart, but I'm very, very.
Jeez, Nick.
Sorry.
Shut up.
So I'm sorry.
I can't see Audacity, so I no longer know how long we've been talking about something.
That's true.
That's true.
Actually, I have no idea. We could talk for like an hour and a half before
25
I realize we need to take a
minutes.
break. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris
That's
Davis.
reasonable.
All right. Theatrhythm or Like a Dragon? I know more people here have
I'll do
played Like a
Theatrhythm real
Dragon.
quick. I'll do Theatrhythm real quick.
Go for it.
Theatrhythm.
Ooh,
This is
look at this box art.
This is the new Theatrhythm game, and you know, Chris Davis has called it a port. When you said it's a port,
I knew you should have done that.
Were you saying that it's like, oh, it's just that 3DS game with new content on the Switch? Because it's like 100% not that at all. Like that game, the first Theatrhythm game, Curtain Call, and this are three completely different games, but there was an arcade game that came out after Curtain Call, and this does share a lot of similar DNA to that arcade game. I don't think that's what you meant when you said port. You were probably just saying, oh, these are all the same dumb games, which they're not. Now, with that said, I've not played that arcade game.
I'm going to be honest. I think it's an easy mistake to make.
Because you played none of them, but as someone who's played a whole lot of, I basically played and completed like all of the first game and Curtain Call, and now I'm playing this. They are, in that arcade game aside, they are three like very different. They have very different vibes and feels and kind of mechanics. Like the way, like it's a music and rhythm game, right? So a lot of it is about these the way you interact with like the notes or whatever as they pass by on the screen. That has actually changed up quite a bit from entry to entry. And I will say, even though these games often feel very similar because they're kind of, they're covering the same soundtracks over and over again, right? Because it's all the Final Fantasy music. They have added a lot more with each entry. The actual systems have changed enough to where they all have kind of a different feel. And I do feel that this one of all three of them is kind of like, has like the best like note charts and stuff. Like when the series first started, I feel like the note charts and stuff were like pretty bad. The mechanics were honestly pretty shallow. Here they finally added like enough depth there to where it's actually becoming like a pretty fun rhythm game to play mechanically out, instead of just being I've always said that this series, and I still kind of believe it, has always been carried by its music, right? It's got insane amount of music, insanely quality like soundtracks from all these different games, just like some of the best composers ever have worked on Final Fantasy games, right? And there's so much of that, right? But like compared to some of my favorite music or rhythm games, like even like something like fucking Rock Band or like a Windon. We talk about a Windon a lot, which is also Elite Beat Agents. Like those games are so fucking fun to play. The start of this series was 100% nowhere near as fun as like Owendon and Elite Beat Agents. Those games were insanely fun to play. When Elite Beat Agents came out, they were bad covers of bad pop songs. A lot of them.
But they were still good.
But that game was so fun to play. You like really got into it.
The reason why I kept calling it a port thing was that from an outside perspective, from someone who has not played any of these Theatrhythm games, they look all the same. And when you have a naming convention that has Theatrhythm, then Curtain Call, then Final Bar Line, that makes me think that it's just an expansion on existing content.
Sure.
Also,
and that made a bunch of soccer moms think that the Wii U was not a new console. I mean,
the Switch is kind of notorious for that, though. You know what I mean? Like the Switch is notorious for just releasing ports of like old Nintendo games and calling it something, and like just changing the title slightly.
We're not here to talk about how misinformed Chris Davis is, really. I mean, it's fine. It's fair. I mean, Square Enix could have called this like Theatrhythm 3 or 4 technically, but they didn't, and I get it. But like, if you were never going to play the games, I mean, really, who cares? I will say that this is probably like the best Theatrhythm game, and like I said, mechanically, it's the most fun to play. It has the most like systems, and it the systems are so weird in this game, right? Because you have a whole party of characters and they level up and they get all these skills, and you have like loadouts and shit, and you could like there's like hundreds of characters or whatever, and they all are a little bit different. They have different like classes, like there's defender types and support types and hunter types. Like none of it really fucking matters. It just gives you like little bonuses and stuff if you like take damage or deal more damage or like miss notes, and or if you're trying to get more chests. But it's funny to see like how much effort they put into that stuff for something that really just doesn't matter. I mean, you're really just like enemies have weaknesses, so you can equip like fire spells on your magic users, and it's like that's absurd, right? I think if you're like really trying to like grind out like collectible stuff, maybe you mess with that. But you just hit a button that says optimize or whatever, and just take whoever you want in there because they're your favorite characters. Because at the end of the day, you just have to be good at playing the songs, right? But you know, it's like I said, it's carried by its music. But the awkward thing is, I've run into the same issue with every Theatrhythm game, and that's that it gives you control over the order at which you unlock these series, right? Like you're in quest mode, right? And you pick a game series, like, or you pick a game like Final Fantasy 7, right? And you work through that quest mode, and part of the way through the series of like levels and stuff, you open a chest and it gives you a key to unlock another series, right? And you can continue playing the music in that series and like get to like the hardest songs, and like which are usually like final boss themes, like stuff like that. And then you clear that series, and then it's like, okay, well, let me go pick another series, right? But now there's like 500 songs in this game, and like Final Fantasy 14 alone has 36 tracks from Final Fantasy 14. But the thing is, when you pick up this game, you're just going to pick all your favorite Final Fantasies, right? And then when you kind of run out of those, you're like, okay, well, now I'm going to do like Final Fantasy 13-2 and Lightning Returns, because that's part of the game, and I'm trying to get through that. So now I got to play some Lightning Returns music, and I never even played that game. And I guess this music is okay, but, it's not the same as the battle theme from Final Fantasy 6 or something, right?
It doesn't really mean anything to you because you've never played it. Here's a question I have for you, Brad.
There's so much of that, right? Like they have music from the Dissidia games. They have the music from like Crisis Core. They have music from like phone games and shit. I think they even have music from that like that already canceled like Battle Royale Final Fantasy game. Like it's insane. They have music from Advent Children, from like movies and shit. It's so much music.
What's up, Crispy?
I was gonna ask if they had the music from the Lady Iceheart battle in 14.
I don't know, because I have not done 14 yet, outside of unlocking the key to unlock another series, because I am not connected. I don't have like nostalgia or like an affection for all that fucking music, which, that's the thing. In a really good music and rhythm game, you don't have to really care about the music, and it is better than ever here. I do mean that, and I feel like it's even harder too. When the series first started, it was like weirdly easy, and it was just hard to vibe with the mechanics. But now it's like challenging. There's some interesting note charts depending on the song, but even then, it's still not enough to make me care about Final Fantasy 14 songs that I've never heard, even though people love it, or like Final Fantasy 15 songs, right? Yeah. Even though I guess people sort of like that music. If in Elite Beat Agents, like I said, I could play a bad cover of Material Girl and it's the greatest thing in the world, right? Or like Skater Boy. by Avril Lavigne, except not Avril Lavigne, some cover of an Avril Lavigne, bad Avril Lavigne song.
Jamiroquai.
Jay Hit in chat says
Well, hey,
that song you
easy.
requested is in there, Crispy.
Yeah,
sure. But let me tell you, like, so I am very fond of the series, and it is very addictive, and I do love all that music that I love, right? And I even like that Lahi song that he says, right? That's like the 114 song that I know. But it's getting a little weird, right? Where I got to do like, you know, the Final Fantasy, the Crystal Bearers or whatever the fuck, and it's like, okay, I mean, but I like playing the game. But see, here's the thing. If I had like an Elite Beat Agents or a Windon, like if that developer made the game but had access to this much music, or even like fucking Rock Band or something, had access to these songs, I'd have so much more fun with it, I think. Like, in fact, if I could literally get Elite Beat Agents with all of these songs, I would probably rather have that video game than most other video games. And I seriously mean that. I love this music and I love those rhythm mechanics. But with that said, I think if you do like more than say 4 Final Fantasy games a lot, which is, you know, a lot of people, like this game it's a fun time. It's also like really
here's
cute
a
and
question.
silly.
Does it have Final Fantasy 16 music? Are they like using it like preview 16 music at all?
It's probably, I think it's DLC probably. I mean, there's like a big long like DLC season pass. Like they got all this stuff planned. They're bringing in music from like Chrono Trigger and like Nier and stuff. Like, I mean, but a lot of that was in Curtain Call as DLC as well.
It would suck to like
buy it again
to have this kind of be the first exposure to music as opposed to experiencing it in the game, because like I feel like the game experience should come first, because that's what creates the nostalgia.
For sure, the nostalgia factor really holds it here.
I want to point out one thing while you're I don't know if you're all looking at the gameplay.
I am,
but you notice I'm in a battle song, right? And you see like there's 4 lanes, like in like say Guitar Hero or something, right?
Right.
I don't know if this will sound surprising to you. I bet Nolan already knows what I'm about to say, but like those aren't actually different button presses. All of those red notes and green notes or whatever, you can press a single button. The lanes mean nothing, which is insane for a music and rhythm game, right? That they're giving you that visual, even though it doesn't actually mean anything different. I feel like that's almost
oh my god, I feel lied to
of a music and rhythm game, right? But here's the thing. I think they started doing that with the first one, right? But see all my characters that are fighting, they used to be next to each of those lanes. My 4 characters were next to each lane. And it was sort of simulating like, oh, so like when I'm on this track, this character is attacking. Even though I'm pressing the same button, there was visual feedback of like, oh, when I press the top lane, my top character is actually striking the enemy, right? And it's like, okay, music and rhythm game mechanically it's not interesting, but visually it's interesting. But see, they moved all the characters to like the bottom, so they're more like dynamically jumping around and stuff. So now you don't even have that like association between lanes and characters like in an RPG, and it's like, well, it was you can have the different lanes. It's stupid.
It was like old school Final Fantasy, like 1 through 6 or whatever. When you're in the battles, and the 4 characters are literally stacked, and that was the whole point of it. Is as they're in that stack, you're going across. But yes, I don't really understand why they kind of move them down.
They don't stand next to them anymore. And in the older games, when you did a summon and like Ifrit came in, it would turn into like one lane. Because you're like controlling Ifrit now. You're like, okay, now my 4 characters are now this summon, so it's one lane. This makes sense. It's simple, but it makes sense. Now they don't even have that, and you're just doing 4 lanes for no fucking reason. It's not even like high notes and low notes. It's random. Sorry, go ahead.
Does it make sense?
No, it doesn't make sense.
No.
Oh, doesn't it? It doesn't?
No, it doesn't.
What's going on when you're doing like a double green press like that one?
I'm pressing 2 buttons. Any 2 buttons. Literally any 2 buttons.
Any 2? Like you can
name a button.
Change it.
So like
name a button.
When it does like lane 1 and 4 together, and then lane 2 and 3 together, and then lane 1 and 3 together. Those are, you could be pressing the same 2 buttons every time. It does not matter. Again, this is what I'm saying. Mechanically, this is not the most interesting or developed rhythm game. It's carried by its music. Even though this one is the best in the series so far in terms of like fun note charts. Like when I say fun note charts, I'm saying like it feels good like when you're like pressing buttons and flicking the stick like rhythmically, it feels pretty good to do the songs. Does that make sense? I don't play a lot of music and rhythm games, so maybe the terminology is not making sense. But like, it feels fun in a lot of these songs when you're like tapping and flicking. It's
I
just
think at the end of the
visually,
day,
it's a mess.
At the end of the day, that's what matters, is if it's fun. So
except when you're doing a Final Fantasy 15 song and it's all like overproduced and you're like, okay, what is going on here? There's so much chanting. There's so much fucking chanting in later like Final Fantasy games. It's like, all right, I get it.
I'm a little like this is the first time I'm like having thoughts about Final Fantasy 16's music. Although
to answer your question, Nick,
my question?
They're about Final Fantasy 16 music. So there already is season 1 pass that's up available, that's running through April. According to what I'm reading here, they've got DLC planned through at least November, with multiple of those packs not listing what the game is, but seemingly tied into probably when we should expect Square Enix releases.
Marketing synergy, am I right, baby? Like
of course, but like, I mean, you're not going to play this game, Nick? But that's the thing. It's weird. You love so many Final Fantasy games. I think you'd really enjoy this.
I mean, not only do I love Final Fantasy games, I listen to Final Fantasy music on a daily basis. So
they have music from like Final Fantasy 7 Remake, and those are like some really good fucking remixes. Like I was playing Crisis Core the other day. I forgot how fucking metal that soundtrack was. It's like crazy, the music in that game. So it's kind of fun to revisit some of that stuff that you haven't heard in a long time. But you know, just the thought of me having to play like the mobile phone. Like there's games that don't even have Final Fantasy in the title, but I know they're Final Fantasy related, like Mobius or something. I don't even know what that is. I think it's some phone game, but now I got to play music from it because I already did all of 7 and 9 and 12 and whatever. I mean, it's just
somewhere out
there's
there,
only
someone's
7,
really
there's
happy
only
that
7
Mobius
Final
is in there.
Fantasy Tactics songs. There's only 7 Tactics songs. Tactics is such a good soundtrack. That's insane to me, but you know, I guess they got to play the hits. I don't know. Everyone loves 14 soundtrack because they have 1,000 songs. So I guess you got to have 36 of them.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Mobius I was starting to think a episodic Final Fantasy game that was on phones about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
I gotta put it in there.
You know, I started to say a minute ago that I was like starting to think about the music from Final Fantasy 16 and then being worried because I was in my head. I was like, the last few Final Fantasy soundtracks I haven't been too excited about. I didn't enjoy much, and then I realized I think it was just 15. I mean, I've listened to the Final Fantasy music. I've listened to I love the soundtrack for 13. I love that soundtrack. In fact, that might be one of my favorite parts of that game. I've even listened to 14 a lot, and I've never
14 has some good music,
but like 15 is the only one that I've never like kind of stuck with and listened to.
You've listened to the 14 soundtrack?
I have.
But like
no, you haven't, like because there's so much music.
You haven't played?
I mean, I have a Final Fantasy playlist on Apple Music that has like however many Final Fantasy 14 soundtracks there are. Because there's like 5 or 6 of them you can find out there that all have like 60 or 70 tracks on them or some crazy shit. So I have a fuck ton of Final Fantasy 14 music on my Apple Music playlist. So, but I don't have Final Fantasy 15 because I don't like it very much.
But I mean, how much? If there's hundreds of Final Fantasy 14 songs, right? And you have a playlist that is probably how many songs? Guesstimate thousands probably you have on your fucking playlist.
Yeah,
I mean, like realistically, you probably heard like 3 songs from 14.
I mean,
something else.
Right? No, but before I put it on my playlist, I listened to it on its own to determine if I want to put it on my playlist. So I have listened to them, and they're pretty good. They're pretty good. So yeah, you know, maybe that was unfounded. Final Fantasy 15 just may not be kind of a dud for me, but maybe 16 will turn that ship around.
It was okay.
All right. So I want to get through one more game before we cut to break. So why don't we talk about Like a Dragon? Y'all, how many of y'all been playing that? Brad?
I have.
Chris Davis?
Cool. I think I'm almost as far as I was when I played the Japanese game.
We played it in Japanese.
No English subtitles or anything.
Wow.
I basically took my history with the series and I determined like I don't need this translated. I know exactly what's happening in every one of these scenes. And it turns out I was right. Now that I understand what's going on.
This is an up port, right? Like that game was on like PS3, wasn't it?
This is PS4. PS4. Ishin was a
PS4,
very
yeah.
early PS4 game, and this is so there is new like art, I think, because they did port it to like Unreal, and I think like at least with like the main characters, they like gave them new models and stuff. But yeah, this is like a remaster more than a remake. I feel like.
So correct me if I'm wrong. So I thought Like a
feels
Dragon
old.
was
It feels like an old Yakuza game.
I thought Like a Dragon.
It uses the Yakuza 6 engine and gameplay mechanics. If that
no.
Wait.
Can I get this question out? Can I get this question out?
Yeah.
Nick, what's up? I thought Like a Dragon, like the name Like a Dragon, was being reserved for the RPGs now. Like the art.
No, they changed the franchise name to that.
So regardless of the play
it's not called Yakuza
now,
anymore. It's called Like a Dragon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The series was always called Like a Dragon in Japan. The studio is called Like a Dragon, and the game has been called Like a Dragon.
So Yakuza was just what we called it in America?
It's just what they called it in America.
Because that's easy for Americans to understand.
Why are we so dumb?
We just officially rebranded it. You know how we started calling Final Fantasy 3 Final Fantasy 6 and we never looked back?
Yes.
It's like that. Okay. So really we're supposed to be calling it Aerith, right? You know, eventually we need to just be referring to games.
Wrong about that. They're wrong about that.
No. Like Dragon Quest used to be called Dragon Warrior in the West, and now we just call it Dragon Warrior. Even those old ones that were still called Dragon Quest. Eventually, I think we're going to get to the point where we don't even call these Yakuza games anymore, and we say, remember Like a Dragon Zero? That was the best. You know, the series has always been called that.
Okay, I consider me educated. Thank you.
Okay.
Continue.
And we did talk about this before, but that's fine. So Like a Dragon Ishin. Can I just say Yakuza? It's easier to say.
Just call it Ishin.
So
he just had this long tirade about us being never looking back, and now he's like, "Can I just call it Yakuza? It's easier."
Or can we call it Lack or something?
Whoa!
Or no, Lad. Wait,
Lad.
Okay, so Lad Ishin. This came out right before Lad 0.
Before Zero.
Yeah, This is not the Yakuza 6 engine, which is important to note because Yakuza 6 was the first time that it finally felt good and smooth to move around the world. Before that, it felt like kind of like crap. Like you were constantly like running into walls and running into things and starting, and it actually felt like shit. And like you felt all the invisible walls. And it all that changed. If you play like a Judgment game, if you play any Yakuza game beyond 6, it feels so much better. Combat is so much more fluid, more physicsy, right? Here it's back to like Yakuza 0 and before the kind of the jank fest.
6 was when they introduced like you would like, you know, dynamically like vault over things and kind of interact with the world better and stuff, and you know, it's one of those things where there was a lot of invisible walls before where you just kind of feel like like you'd get stuck on a tiny pole, and it's like very frustrating when you just kind of run into it, and it's like
Yakuza games, they used to be really janky, and even though this got ported to the Unreal Engine, it still has those bones. So if you picked up like Judgment or Like a Dragon 7 or whatever, it's not going to feel like you could be like, this is going to feel like a 2014 game because that's what it is, and all but visuals. But with that said, it is pretty fun like in combat because this is a feudal Japan setting game. Even though these characters like look like Kiryu and Majima, you're not actually Kiryu and Majima. It's just those character models and those voice actors playing completely different characters. No, it's not. In completely different characters and completely different settings. In fact, I think I even heard like the framing device almost being like maybe like they're in a play or something, right?
It's the Mario thing again.
Oh my God. I listened to a podcast and they made the best fucking comparison. It's like Muppets Christmas Carol or whatever.
Yeah.
Where like the Muppets are playing all the characters from like Christmas Carol.
I accept
Kermit,
this is
like
good.
Kermit isn't Bob Cratchit, but he plays him in the Muppet Christmas Carol.
Exactly. But he still, sounds and looks like Kermit and still has a little bit of
like
he's still Kermit, but
like a dragon, a Christmas Carol.
So this
I would
character
play
is still
that.
very Kiryu, but a little different, right? Because he's a completely different character, completely different story. You know, he's someone killed your father, and you're trying to like track down the person who killed them based on his fighting style, because he was dressed up in like ninja gear when he killed your father, and you're like, oh, I must find out who knows that martial art, because none of the schools in my town know that fighting style. So he
but also like per the character, he's Sakamoto Ryoma is his name. He is just like Kiryu in that he's the nicest guy in the world, yet he's also the most imposing looking motherfucker you'll encounter on the street.
I will say he talks a little bit more shit than Kiryu ever did, and I like that. He talks more shit. So like they're close, but they're a little off. Like I ran into quote unquote Majima, and he's crazy, but he's also like way scarier. Like he's just like a psycho. Like Majima's crazy, but you know this I forget his name, Soji or whatever. He never washes his kimono or his outfit, not kimono, his outfit or whatever. So it's like covered in blood, and he has, because he kills people, and like it's all like completely stained in blood, and he just wears the blood of his victims, and he's
gross.
He's a nutcase, but he's also like a crazy killer. And so anyways, ultimately you find out that the person who knows this fight, like everybody who practices this martial art, like is a part of this police force, this Shinsengumi in this town. And the only way you can really find out who killed your father is to fight this person. And the only way you're going to be able to fight this person is for you to also join the Shinsengumi. So you just join the police for this asshole police force of all these dudes who practice this martial art. I thought it was like, how is he going to like find out who it was? Maybe I played too many like fucking judgment games, but as soon as he like joins, he's like, I'm going to fight you. He just starts fighting people. He's like, I'm going to find out if you're the person who killed my father. And then he's like fighting another guy. And I'm like, I thought he was going to do a little bit more detective work, but
that's just how this game goes. Yeah.
That's the wrong game.
It's so fun. I will say the craziness of Yakuza fits so well in this setting because, you know, like samurai duels, it's all like Western-y shit anyways, right? Like the drama in like the stare downs and all that Yakuza shit fits this setting perfectly. Now they just have a lot more swords, and it's cool, and guns.
Yeah, it's
ironic that he uses guns.
Pistol. Like,
yeah, do you fight anything in this footage?
I did earlier.
He was like fighting with his sword and like pulled out a gun and like shot somebody, and
which is it's a fun fighting style. He also just has one where it's just the gun. And the fighting style, it's just shooting people and then using like flame rounds and stuff to like set them on fire. And you're just like unloading on people. And it's so fun just to like be chased by like a pack of dudes where you're normally like doing heat actions and comboing them and throwing them around, but just to stand on the one end of an alley and just unload on all these motherfuckers until they're dead. And you know how they go into those cutscenes at the end of a fight that slow-mos and the person like, you know, dying? It's just so funny just to like waste them until that little death blow triggers.
I love how this
the
game
actual heat actions are so gruesome. Like who like fucking like just point blank like shoot a dude in the fucking chest and then like stab his sword through the wound.
Yeah,
like you killed this person. You killed this man.
It's okay. He's dead now.
This guy that Kiryu's playing, the Sakamoto, is like a real guy.
Yeah,
like
these are all real
like a
people.
historic fantasy. Like
yes, historic fantasy played by the Muppets. It's great.
Let me speed up the footage real quick.
My friend said there's an airport named after this guy in Japan.
So if you can get over old Yakuza jank, or you've played a lot of those older Yakuza games and it doesn't really bother you because that's just what the series used to be, like this is awesome. It's awesome to see this this series. I mean, this is actually the second Feudal Japan. This is actually the second Feudal Japan Yakuza game to come out. One came out on Kinzan came out on PS3, and like we've played so many Yakuza games, but they've all been in like Kamurocho or like close to Kamurocho. So it was always so frustrating to get like these spin-offs that are so wildly different, like in terms of setting and like time period. It was always frustrating we never got them because we got so many of them, but not these. And it's nice to finally at least get one of them. Dude, although I don't think they're going to get back to Kinzan, but that'd be cool.
Dude, the best thing about this, so Chris Davis fast forwarded the footage. Now we're watching this like bathhouse fight. Is that you're like in a boss fight, and it's just like it says the name of the boss is Large Man.
Large Man, and they're both naked,
but
this.
The little
steam is
fog
just
clouds.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
There is a suggestion.
It's like that Eastern Promises fight when like
It's
Viggo Mortensen
exactly
had to
like
fight
that.
all those dudes naked.
Watch this
Mhm.
cutscene though. Like there's a YouTube clip of me playing the Japanese version
This is very
of this
homoerotic.
exact same clip, and like if you look at that clip, there's less steam. They added more steam for this new version of the
For
game.
the
So
West.
like he grabs his ass cheek and like suplexes him, like, just
Whoa.
like, wah!
Like
And, like,
gets
you
his
hear the
fingers
sound.
in his butt.
Yeah, and you see way more of it in the original version. And then they added steam in this version. I'm like, why did you do that? Like we were okay with the homoeroticism of the Yakuza
Come on,
series.
it's
Come on.
time for Kiryu to hang dong. The time has come.
He's
Let
just a
it
large man.
happen.
They do suggest in the cutscene that I think that he has like a large wing. He comes in, he's just like standing there, and they're like, "All right, dude, just get in
It'd
the
be
back
funny
or
if
something."
like he walks in and like the steam cloud is like down lower than everybody else. It's like down by his like ankles.
Oh, I was going to say the steam cloud is like
Loincloth.
very far away from his body.
or
Like
that.
it stretches
You
out
win-
like very
You win a
far.
loincloth for that fight.
Oh man.
I feel like that scene is a good example of how Ryoma's a little bit different than Kiryu. I feel like Kiryu would have been like stone faced the entire scene. He would have still fought the guy, of course, but like when Ryoma's trying to leave, he's like, he like definitely like brushes him aside to like, like he's very like dismissive and not respectful, and the guy's like, dude, what the fuck? Kiryu would have just like, stared him down or whatever, but this dude's like, yeah, you're a fucking dick, kind of. He talks a little bit of shit before they get into a fight, and I feel like Kiryu would have never talked shit. So I like how they're a little bit different.
Chris Davis, you've been kind of quiet. I know you're playing. How are you?
Sorry.
First of all, Chris Davis, how many Yakuza games have you played at this point? Because you started infamously
I've played
with
6 and 7, so just 2.
6 and 7. So
Yeah.
and this will be your third one.
This will be my.
So you are actively playing
Oh
this,
yeah, I
right?
forgot you're an old
Yeah.
Yakuza salt, aren't you, Chris Davis?
I mean, this
You're,
this
like,
is my footage that I
real
recorded.
deep in
So
this- deep in this shit.
So you're enjoying this as well.
I am enjoying it.
You still haven't played Zero?
Don't
let's
don't,
not do
Yakuza
that
Zero.
again.
don't.
Yakuza
Okay.
Zero is like Game Pass with Chris
Okay.
Davis.
I
It's
just,
never
like-
gonna happen.
I just like, I don't know. I really loved that game. I don't.
Or like Tales from
I
the
know.
Borderlands with Nick.
No, God
Like
damn it, no.
literally,
That's
we all love Yakuza Zero. Literally, everybody here and everybody that's ever played Yakuza Zero loves it.
It is
so
on.
good.
I own it. It's on my backlog. I will get to it one day. Okay.
He's the '80s. He's just like
Oh, but
throwing
you're-
money around.
Oh,
It's
but
the
you're
greatest
chomping
shit
at
in
the
the
bit
world.
to play Dark Souls again.
I'm just chomping at the bit to get my copy of Demon Souls back. Is what's happening.
Demon
Dude,
Souls.
I was in
sorry.
his area. I was in his area and I forgot the game.
did.
And I even told Malia like we should get, or she told me we should get that game. And I'm like, you're right, we should get the game. And I got the case out, and it just didn't happen.
But
you
here's the
start
thing.
putting kids
Here's the
into a
thing.
car and you forget.
Not
things.
only did that happen, but Brad could have that could have happened, and Chris Davis never would have been the wiser. But Brad took a photo
Had to tell
of
him.
himself in the area, like of a water tower, showing that
He
he
had
was
to
in the
drive
area.
past my apartment.
Yeah,
And
he
literally
basically
drove
took
by.
he basically took a picture outside of Chris Davis's house and said, "Sorry, I missed you."
Well, if I
Ah.
had the game, I would have
UPS.
swung by. Here's the thing.
Like-
Here's the thing. We're gonna be in the area again. If not this week and the weekend after.
You're setting
so-
yourself up for disappointment.
I'll
Don't
try to
fall for
remember
Chris
this time.
Davis. If he fails this time, Chris Davis, I'm gonna facilitate this, and I will drive over to Brad's house and pick it up and then deliver it to you.
No,
'Cause I'm
no. That's not. It's not funny if something like that happens. I will get it back to him.
all right.
I would
He's a-
before I die. Okay, just before I die.
That's was that last week? We were like, you should just leave it to him in your will.
I mean, it's not like I go on Twitter shaming Nolan for having my copy of
I actually have that now.
or
Yeah.
I went and got all of our podcast
It
stuff
was
the other day.
Metal Gear,
Yeah.
the whatever the collection was on the Xbox 360.
I mean, that's
Maybe
just
I
what
should-
it is. I lent it to him, and I don't care enough to go over there and get it back, so he still
here's
has
the-
it.
Here's the thing. So
That's all
Chris
it
Davis, you're coming over to my place this weekend for something. I'll give you his copy of Metal Gear Solid 3,
We
And
do a
then-
hostage exchange.
and then a hostage
go.
exchange.
Okay.
It's
All
kinda
right. Now you
hostage trade.
talking my language.
All right. Is there anything else we want to say about Like a Dragon before we take a break?
I mean,
no,
I've barely been able to talk to it.
Yeah,
but I want to say that I really do like it. I wish that the problems I have with the game so far are mainly just very minor issues. Like there's a lot of lag in using the main menu to do stuff. And when you're switching between styles, it feels very stiff. It doesn't feel natural at all.
Yeah, a lot feels stiff.
Is that just a byproduct of it being based on the older style?
And they were janky back then too, but yeah. That stuff they've improved significantly over the entries.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel like that they've, at least from my perspective, they haven't fixed that since then.
Like in Lost Judgment, which is the last action game, you're changing styles like mid combos to like extend like aerial combos. It's super fluid and fast. So,
and this is not that.
No,
it is absolutely not.
He is. I mean, that stance where you have the sword and the gun, it is surprisingly fluid for an old Yakuza game. Like you couldn't really move like that even back then, really. So it feels pretty good, and shooting.
Yeah, but I
will say this doesn't have an English track. Every Yakuza game since 6, I think,
6.
Judgment 1 has had English voice acting, but I guess due to the nature of this is just sort of like a remaster of an old game. I guess they didn't bother putting in, or maybe
also
it's
it's feudal Japan. Maybe they just want to make it authentic.
I don't think they want to English voice act Kiryu, is my guess, honestly.
Well, I mean, wasn't he voice acted in 6 and 7?
No, 6 was Japanese. The first one was Judgment 1, and then 7 and Judgment 2 are all in English. And he spoke a little bit in 7, spoilers, and it's very not great. And I would have remembered 6 is just Japanese, I think. So maybe they don't want to do English Kiryu.
Well, we'll find out later this year when the next one comes out.
Yeah, well, I guess they'll have to in that one. No, oh yeah, you mean the spinoff? Yeah,
I forgot. There's another Yakuza game coming out this year.
Game, yeah.
Yeah, so the one I picked.
I remember Chris Davis picked that up. I was trying to get both Yakuza games in the draft, but due to the nature of the draft, you don't always get what you want. I was actually going to bid on, I think, the Gaiden one first because I knew it was the newer engine, and it wasn't going to have like the jankiness of Ishin. But it's a Yakuza game. They're going to score well at this point because people really like this series now. So yeah.
Nick, if you're at all interested in playing this, I would like to point that to this game's character upgrade system. There's 4 skill trees, but they're basically sphere grids from Final Fantasy X.
You had me at sphere grids.
Okay.
But also but here's the problem. At this point, I am so far behind with Yakuza that this would not be the starting point for me. I would have to go back. I would go back and start with 0. But we all I've also kind of come to terms with the fact that I get a lot of enjoyment hearing y'all talk about it, and I'm like, maybe that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I don't think this is the series for Nick, honestly. But maybe Judgment.
Judgment is I have actually considered Judgment a couple times because it's adjacent.
I would also argue that Yakuza 7 Like a Dragon is different enough with the different play style that you could honestly play any other Yakuza game, literally any other, and then 7, and it feels like it's a different series.
It is.
Okay. Are you talking about Like a Dragon 7 Like a Dragon?
Yes, I'm talking about Like a Dragon 7 Like a Dragon. It is. I think it's a little bit easier to get into than any of the Yakuza game. The English voice acting, the different style. You don't have to worry about brawling in combat. It's more of the turn-based RPG. I think it's a lot easier for newcomers to get into.
All right, good to know.
I just
maybe I'll start with
a fantastic game.
I think
maybe I'll start with Judgment
and over dramatic for Nick.
I mean, here's the thing, man. I do enjoy silly stuff. I was over here when we're talking about Atomic Heart being there's an old granny with a flying house. And that is just I was like, that's awesome. So some things.
What do you get out of this? Look at the footage. You get much out of that?
I mean, the dancing people? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah,
is this is this like
Shoulda pee pee?
Shoulda pee pee?
Shoulda pee pee. Shoulda pee.
It's a cult. But he randomly starts doing it. Ryoma randomly starts doing it. He's like, "Oh shit, it's fun."
All right.
Okay. Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about PSVR2. I'll have some impressions of Horizon Call of the Mountain, just a little bit.
God, we got that too.
Yeah, but then we have that, and then we'll wrap up with the 4-player minute. So if you're watching this live, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break. So I guess I don't need to do another roll call or anything. So, hey, everyone, welcome back to the show. I want to talk a little bit about the PSVR before we wrap up tonight. I don't really know where the
PSVR that came out a long time ago, Nick.
Sorry, thanks, Nolan. Good catch. PSVR 2. I got my hands on a headset, and I've been playing a little Horizon Call of the Mountain, so I can talk about that. But maybe it'd be more prudent to talk about the hardware itself first, because I mean,
I hear it's pretty. One thing that you heard a lot about the PSVR 1 is that the design of the headset and like the comfort and stuff was really good. So I imagine that stuff is still really strong.
Yeah, I mean, the things that I liked about the original headset seem to be in place here in terms of the sliding, whatever you call. I don't even know what you call this. The thing that goes over your eyes, the sliding visor thing, and then the way you tighten it in the back and everything, the way it kind of sits in your head, everything feels really nice. One thing I will notice. Wait, what?
I was going to say that the coolest thing to me from looking at videos of this thing is the room scanning and mapping technology they've incorporated in this. This is so smart.
It's pretty impressive. And like when they have you map out your room, they just have you look around the room, and the way it like recognizes everything is really impressive, and the way it kind of like defines your play area is just like super intuitive, which is really cool.
I'm not trying to be like a Debbie Downer, but my Oculus OG does that.
You're right, and a lot of the narrative that I'm seeing around this, and I would tend to agree, is that this really is just a case of Sony catching up to where PC.
Well, yeah, my it's a leapfrog thing. The thing is, when Sony was developing the original PSVR, it was before the Oculus came out. It was before everything was still based on cameras, and they were going with the assumption of everyone has our motion controllers, and everyone has a camera like the PS camera. So we're just going to make something that works with that instead of spending the extra money to make a more expensive unit that now has cameras built in. It's more the technology is more expensive, and now obviously between then and now technology's gotten cheaper, and it's a little bit easier to put a small camera in a headset.
Exactly. And we're going to talk shortly about kind of like what our expectations are for like support going forward for this thing, and that's a whole different conversation. But like, this is very much them catching up with the rest of the world. And as far as like console headsets go, I think this is a pretty great. The biggest surprise I had, because like I think about when I plugged in my original PSVR, like I had to pull out the instructions every single time I had to plug that thing back in, because it had like splitting wires and boxes that plug into multiple things. And then it had to plug into I think it had to plug into the special connection in the back of the PS4. It was a huge mess. This is literally, I took it out of the box, and it's like, plug this cable into the USB-C port on the front. That was the instructions.
Again, that's Sony catching up. It was like the first PSVR is just hacked together bullshit using old random technology. So
quite literally,
it was a mess.
This does have an OLED screen, which is really nice. But like one of the things I heard this talking about on the Nextlander podcast, and as soon as I heard this, I booted it up and I was like, oh my god, he's right. Is like the contrast, like the black levels are so good. Like when you put the headset on, it doesn't like all of the space, like especially when you're on like the PS5 like home screen or whatever, like all of the space around it, on the PSVR 1, I suppose it would be like floating in kind of like it was like an off black or like a dark gray screen. This is like pure blackness. It's just like floating in a void, and that kind of carried over to the game as well. So it has a really nice contrast level, which is good. The one thing I did notice with the headset, and I might need to tweak kind of like the fitting on my head a little bit, but like I noticed that when I was in a game and I was looking up, the weight of it would be pushing down like the bridge of my nose, and it was kind of uncomfortable. But I think that I may have just had it too tight or something, and maybe I need to actually pull it away from my face a little bit and adjust it. But kind of the one deal breaker, and I know Brad brings this up a lot talking about VR, is that it is still a wired headset. So in fact, both headsets I had, because I have a Quest or no, I have an Oculus. Why do I always? Oh, I have an Oculus Rift S. I always forget the fucking model number, but that's also a wired headset. So, wireless, obviously, I would imagine is the future of headsets. So it's not quite caught up in that regard, but it is
if it's ever going to catch on and be a huge mainstream success, it is going to be a wireless one, and that is probably why the Quest is the one that kind of blew up.
Yeah. I could see here's the thing, we talk about backwards compatibility of the PSVR to PSVR2. It doesn't carry over because all the games that were developed for PSVR1 were built for the kind of tracking that camera or that headset used, and this obviously is totally different. So my hope is that maybe in a couple of years they release a cheaper PSVR2 that is maybe wireless or something. But hopefully the core technology of the tracking technology doesn't make another leap, because I think that's the thing that we keep waiting for we keep waiting for VR in general to kind of take off. And it's as long as they keep improving and changing the tech, and we're going to keep leapfrogging and nothing's ever going to stick. Well, something eventually will, but I'm hoping that we've reached a point where the tech is kind of, or the method at which in which we design these headsets has kind of reached its at least temporary plateau.
I have a feeling that this is going to be Sony's last effort in VR.
But are you saying that because you think it's going to fail, or are you saying that
Oh yeah.
Really?
I think this is certainly going to kind of crash and burn.
This is their Connect 2.
It's $550. That's what kills it. That's more than the cost of a PS5. The high end one.
It is an absurd barrier to entry.
And this was sort of our discussion topic, but their software launch is it is weak. It's weak.
Yeah.
Their biggest game is Horizon, and people aren't even shouting from the rooftops about this game. It's just there. It's no Astrobot. It's no RE7. And we've talked about this about old games get like Resident Evil Village getting their VR support is not the same thing as launching a new game launching with VR. When Resident Evil 7 came out, you picked that game up and you played that game as a VR game from day one, and that was your experience, and it was memorable, and it was scary, and it was great, right? It'll never be the same going back to a Resident Evil game you've already played. Now, Village is old, I get it, right? But Resident Evil 4 remake has not launched, and obviously Sony and Capcom have very close connections with these things. And how is that not launching day and date with VR? How?
Exactly.
Come on. What the fuck? And we've talked about this. If they had came out with a new Astrobot, surely they're working on Half-Life Alyx, surely they should have tried to fucking get, and Resident Evil 4 remake coming out in VR, then all of a sudden people are considering a $550 purchase. But now, picking this thing up, having to rebuy Beat Saber and Tetris Effect and all that shit again, Pistol Whip, that's not appealing at all. VR games are expensive.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think there's 3 games I can think of kind of the top of my head that are upcoming that look like big productions by big Sony productions for PSVR that I am looking forward to, but not having at least one of those available at launch, or not having honestly, an Astrobot is always going to be a system seller at this point, because everything they've done
when Astrobot came out was when the PSVR was on sale for $200, and people, they bought that fucking thing because they had a game hype that went viral, and it was cheap. This, I don't think we'll ever get that cheap.
I would be absolutely astonished if they did not announce Astrobot around E3. Whenever they do, they're going to do, we all know they're going to do some big state of play June-ish, around June, and I'm sure, I feel like Astrobot is a dead ringer for that. I mean, it has to be if they want this to have any momentum at all. They need to
but
start
they've already
some
fucked up
stuff.
by not like waiting until the time was right. And
no, you're right.
On,
no,
they had all the fucking time in the world. What was the rush on the VR headset?
That is a good question, because these decisions are not just made in a vacuum. Like, this was a conscious, like, to release it at this price at this time, even if it was not ultimately a good decision. They didn't just make that decision for no reason. Like, they had conversations. There was reasoning that was put into this, and I can't imagine what reasons they had. But something
Japanese companies really like to put out their biggest releases in the first quarter.
Yeah, I mean, it could be something as simple as that. I don't know, but it's weird. But I guess I will talk a little bit about Horizon Call of the Mountain.
Yeah,
I suppose we can roll some footage of that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, I probably should have told you to fast forward a little bit on this, because if I fumble because I had to like take the headset off and then go start the recording, then go back and then put the headset on. It's a huge mess. So I will say this, because I think a lot of people may have been under the impression that, this Horizon game that dropped on PSVR2 was going to be kind of like a tech demo or some kind of like short experience, but it's definitely not that. It's definitely a much more substantial
game. And they made it clear that it was a game, but
for sure. And let me know, having never played this game, but I have played plenty of VR games. If you're watching this footage and you've never played a VR game, what you're seeing now is not what you would see if you had the headset on. Right. It is so much more grandiose and big, and it literally feels like you're there. Obviously, you're in a game, but like you are very much immersed in it. It just to let everyone know, if you've never experienced it, what you're seeing here is a third, if even, of what it's like when you're actually in the game.
Yeah, like, there's the thing of watching a 2D plane of a screen, and then there's getting the depth of what you're seeing being put into your eyes.
You do actually feel dwarfed by these mountains, which is a really, really cool effect. And like the first thing they ever showed of this game was them on the canoe kind of going through the river or whatever, and you see the machines kind of come up, and then the tall neck walks over them or whatever. Let me tell you, even like the smaller machines, like you run into the Watcher machines. If you've played Horizon, you know what I'm talking about. The Watchers, like kind of the small, like raptor looking dudes. They feel enormous and like really intimidating in this game. In like the regular game, they feel kind of like fodder. Like they're just like they're inconsequential. In this game, they feel heavy, large, and you feel like they might actually pose a threat to you, which is cool. And then like watching that tall neck walk over you in actual VR is pretty astonishing. But one thing I will say, what I did not really expect from this game, because I didn't really follow this game super closely. I just know that I'm a fan of Horizon and its VR experience, and of course I'm going to try it. This is the most exhausting game I've played in a long time, just in terms of like, because you are climbing everything. Like, I mean, it's literally about scaling a mountain. Like, this game is more or less about scaling a mountain. So like the main kind of like centerpiece mechanically here is like actually like having to like shimmy across the walls and find the grips and grab onto ropes and stuff. And like, so I played this game for like an hour today, and I was exhausted.
Hold on, Nick.
What?
You came at us saying like, hey, this is a video game.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing a bunch of climbing, which does seem like VR game. So,
well, no, I mean, where do you draw I guess people are going to make that distinction. I don't know.
Like, is this like a linear?
You're not. I mean, is it linear so far? Yes. I mean, it's not like a huge open world like Horizon, but it's also not on like rails. I know.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like half. I'm gonna evoke the name Half-Life Alyx here, but not trying to say that this even comes close to Half-Life Alyx, because that game is a whole different level. But I'm saying you move around the world freely. You can interact with almost everything freely. You can do everything. You're not constantly being told to do specific things. You have the freedom to engage with the world how you want to engage with it. When you go into combat, like, you are having to like literally pull your bow off of your back and knock your arrows and like aim and you can miss, and like that shit is intense and it feels good, but like it's not a tech demo. It is, and it's very story driven as well.
I want to be clear here. There's tech demo, and then there's Half-Life Alyx or Resident Evil 7 or whatever. I'm saying like I'm not calling this a tech demo. I want to be clear, but there's a lot of VR games.
Yes,
like you when you describe the Walking Dead game, that sounds like a video game.
Yeah, this is the same, but like it's on that same level. It's just different. The Walking Dead thing was a particularly unique experience because the combat felt so tactile. Because like
the structure, I guess.
But that's open? Also that's kind of openish. Like you have a town that you can kind of explore and go in and out of buildings and stuff. This is a linear game experience so far. I'm pretty early in it still, but like it's very cinematic in nature. It's there's set pieces and stuff. But yeah, I mean it is, and there is a certain amount of like, okay, I've played VR games now at this point. I'm a little bit harder to impress now, but like I did have that feeling of like putting on the headset again and being like, God, I had kind of forgotten, because honestly, it's been a while since I put a headset on it and played a game. And this is about as polished and as engaging, I would say, as any other games.
Is Pistol Whip out on this thing?
I think so.
Yes.
Whip.
I think I have Pistol Whip on PC. So it's just one of those things where I'd probably just play it on PC. One thing that is really cool about this game, and you see me kind of trying to fumble with it here in the footage, and I fuck it up. But you jump, like it tasks you with like jumping across chasms and like grabbing onto like ledges and stuff, and you can fuck that up. And when you fall, I will say this game has an pretty incredible sense of height. And I am admittedly very nervous about heights. But so there's been several moments already where I've like been scaling a wall and I stop and look down and I'm like, oh fuck, this is making me feel uncomfortable. Not like in a sick way, but just like in a holy shit vertigo kind of way. And then when it tasks you with like you look down, you can see how far you drop, and it wants you to like leap across this chasm, and it kind of slows down time just a little bit, so you can kind of like do the handhold thing. You can time that correctly to grab onto ledges and whatnot. But that shit's a really unique feeling that I haven't really experienced in other games, so that's pretty cool. But the first time I did fall to my death, my legs almost gave out. Like I was standing in my room and I was almost like, oh my God, because it gives you that sense. You when you fall, you stay in the character until you're about to hit the ground, and then it cuts to black like right before you hit the ground. So like while you're falling, you're falling. And I haven't really pushed. I haven't pushed the
some
limits
footage
yet.
of you like jumping into a TV or something or a fireplace.
Yeah.
Please, upload
oh my God, like a meme.
Yeah.
Dude, I still have vivid memories of early VR days, and I had some of my family over doing the PSVR, and my Bernadette's little cousin, I don't know, she was like maybe 12 or 13 at the time, was doing Job Simulator. And if you've ever played Job Simulator, one of the ones when you're in the office, it's like you're in a cubicle, and she like walked out of the cubicle and started walking down the hallway and just walked right into our fireplace, like our brick fireplace, and like was so upset. And I was like, well, why did you like? What are you talking about? You just thought you could walk down this hallway? Oh, that's pretty fun.
That's fucking hilarious.
You trusted your eyes. They did make it pretty easy in this headset to like hit the button to kind of like go to your like see through the helmet, which is really nice. And I'm still
the pass through.
Yeah, the pass through is really nice. And I'm still constantly surprised at how I don't realize I'm turning in real life. And then I hit the button and I'm like facing the opposite wall. And I'm like, when the fuck did I turn around? I have no memory of that.
Have you had any motion sickness or anything?
No,
is this the only game you've played?
Yeah, I mean, it's the only game. So far, I'm gonna try out Resident Evil Village, I think, before the next show, just to kind of
see how that goes. It's a brand new Resident Evil game. Aren't you like dying to play that?
Yeah, what are you? I'm not taking
the bait. That's not what he's going for.
It's not a bait. It's just I'm clarifying my point that I made earlier.
No, I get your point. It is disappointing. I mean, it's nice. We did get news this week that they had confirmed that they are starting development on a VR mode in Resident Evil 4, but obviously it doesn't have the same impact it would have if it launched with the VR mode, so that we could if you had a PSVR2, you could just play it.
Yeah, the fact that they announced that they're starting development on that now just feels
which means
so
it's
weird.
going to be at least probably 6 months to a year.
Oh, probably a year at least.
I know like the newer Resident Evils are a little more like hard horror than like 4 was maybe, but like does a VR mode for 4 look like one of those like silly like melee combat games that are on PC VR where like someone just like grabs somebody by the throat and like smacks them a bunch and then like puts a knife in their head?
I tell you what though, what's going to be really great eventually,
first person.
What's going to be really great about RE4 Remake VR is that when the chainsaw guy cuts off your head, you're going to see your head.
Yeah, it's like
you're just going to fall to the ground, and you're going to be able to look back and see your body above you crumpling to the ground.
Oh my God! People just discovered. Maybe they just discovered that you can survive the chainsaw attack in the original Resident Evil 4. That you can like not parry it like you can in the new one, but you can survive it. You can push him off you after he's already chainsawing your neck.
That's weird.
People just discovered that. It's insane.
Oh, Nick, are you going to pick up Switchback VR?
I'm going to be honest. I had no plans as of yet from whatever my next PSVR purchase is going to be.
Okay. Can I pitch you on it?
Sure.
Comes out on the 16th of March. It is actually fully titled The Dark Pictures Switchback VR.
No. Yeah. It's the roller coaster, right?
This is Rush of Blood's the successor to that.
No, I absolutely have to because Robin is obsessed with Rush of Blood, and
Rush of Blood is so good.
Well, yeah, no, it's very good.
But it's like I feel like Rush of Blood got a lot of mileage out of that being like our first PSVR game.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing though, is that
like, these pigs are so huge.
In this, it's going to take advantage of one of the abilities of the PSVR 2 where it does the eye tracking. Mm-hmm. So it actually will track when you blink. So it'll do stuff like the Weeping Angels and things like that.
Fuck that.
No, that sounds pretty cool. Now, I'm gonna be honest. So the games that I think are kind of on my radar right now for PSVR 2, there's Berserker, which was kind of that like Shadow of the Colossus looking game. The other game I can't remember the name of because it's kind of long, but it's the next game from Don't Nod. Is it Don't Nod? No, not Don't Nod. They're making like an action RPG. Someone look that up. Someone tell me what the fucking name of that game was. It was crazy. And then there's a sequel to Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners coming out. So those are kind of the next 3 big ones on my radar. But yeah, I will be picking up Switchback because Rush of Blood is kind of a mainstay in this house, and Robin's going to demand that you play it. And I also would like to play it. So there is stuff that I'm looking forward to. I also want to play Moss Book 2 because I haven't played that yet. But I did play the first one. It's pretty great. So
I want someone. I haven't been able to find anyone out there actually playing it yet. I want to know what this fucking Fantavision game is. That is just so weird to me.
That is strange. We'll see.
They made an actual Fantavision game?
They made a brand new Fantavision just for PSVR 2.
I think it's a sequel.
The
if that's what you want to call
simulator?
it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm going to be your guinea pig, but we'll see. Also, one thing about Horizon I forgot to mention, like kind of when you go into like, there's a lot of settings for like tweaking how the game controls, but like one of the default settings is like gesture based motion. And I was like, what does it mean by gesture? And then I put it on. You don't move with the sticks. You hold the controllers and you have to like move your arms back and forth like you're running to like, that's how you propel yourself forward. And I did that for like 20 minutes and I was like, I can't do that and climb this fucking mountain and not be like exhausted.
That's like everyone who wants one of those VR headsets with like the base station that you can run on.
Yeah.
You actually run in place like, oh yeah, I can't wait for this. And then after like 5 minutes, you're like, I'm done, man.
And I'm also concerned like my brain is gonna forget to tell my legs not to move in conjunction with my arms. So I switched it back to stick movement just to be safe. But it also has like the full suite of like if you get motion sickness, it has the the snap turning and all that stuff. So that's all there. It's actually a lot of customization options to kind of make it have whatever works best for you. So
were you thinking of Harmony: The Fall of Reverie?
Yes. Is
no,
it? Yeah.
that's a visual novel game.
No. Yeah. No. This is something about like spirit hunters or something like.
Oh, Banisher's Ghost of New Eden.
That's the one.
Okay.
What a weird. I just need to start calling it Banishers and not worry about. Is that Don't Nod or is that Tech?
That's Don't Nod.
Don't Nod. Okay, yeah. So I have my eyes on that one. But Berserker was kind of the big one for me that made me really excited. So we'll see. I'm going to, whether this thing succeeds or fails, I don't know, but I'm gonna keep. I have my eye on some stuff. I'm gonna keep using it until I run out of stuff, I guess.
There's this game I've always been curious to try in VR, but I haven't gotten around to playing it. But it seems like it might be your shit. It's called Song in the Smoke, and it's by 17-bit, which they're the people that made Skulls of the Shogun and Galaxy Z. Like they're like an indie dev, but they did like a VR game, and it's like a survival game, which I know you've kind of been playing some survival games, but it has like a cool art style. And I've always wanted to try it in VR, but I never really saw it on sale. But it does seem like your shit.
Is that on PSVR2 or is it PC?
No. I think they're working on a PSVR2 version.
Yeah, it was on VR1.
It was on PSVR1, but I think they're working on a PSVR2 version.
I will look into that. Before we move on to the 4-player minute, I do want to read, because I did reach out to people in the community just to kind of get their take on PSVR stuff. So I want to read a couple of these comments. Ichi's Kid says, it looks like amazing hardware that will sell terribly at this price point without PC support. So we have echoed that. It's funny, Brett, I completely forgot the PSVR 1 was $200. In my head, I was thinking it was like 400 or something. So I didn't think
it was more when it launched, but like they really kind of slashed the price. And I feel like when it started to go on sale PSVR 1 ended up being quite successful for Sony.
Sure.
I just don't think this is gonna do that. Price has always been a big thing.
Yeah, I'm hoping that they know that maybe this is because they have confidence and like they know like their lineup in the next year, even though it's not public yet. Maybe they have a lot of confidence in it, and maybe once some of that starts getting announced, it'll seem like more of a better proposition. But obviously, that's who the fuck knows. Drunken Merchant says, I hope to experience older games in a new light, exactly like how RE4 VR made me feel. Think games like Mad World, Evil Within, Control, Dark Souls, Dead Rising, etc. It'd be a great way to dish out some great and interesting VR experiences while reusing assets to save on time and resources.
Control's not that old.
It's true. But it'd be cool to see a lot of these games like adopt VR modes. Also, one thing I noticed in the menu today in Horizon, like there's a whole bunch of modes, right, when you go to the main menu, but one of them is like machine safari. So it's like just like a sit in a thing and just like go through the woods or something and see all these like machines.
There's always pretty cool VR experiences. You have like multiple VR headsets, but you're kind of you're almost making it sound like this is your first VR, which is
I'm not trying to make
that Safari thing has just been like that's some
I'm specifically saying that for the benefit of people who are fans of Horizon who might not know that mode. I didn't know that mode.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you said Horizon.
Yeah, that's a mode in Horizon. It's just a machine, so you can go through the woods and see the machines. Sonji says, I hope the gimmick of disembodied hands isn't the future of VR games. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. That is my favorite change. Like anytime they try to render arms attached to a body, it pulls me out of the experience. It looks so fucked up. The best thing Half-Life Alyx did was the disembodied hands. And Horizon takes that took that and ran with it, because that's exactly how they do it here. And so I totally
I would argue that the best thing that Half-Life Alyx did was the essentially just like the pickup like gravity kind of type thing was super nice.
Now that I think about it, like, and this is a very loose comparison, but like I was talking about the magnet hand thing in Atomic Heart earlier. Like the closest thing that like as far as satisfaction goes that I've ever had is that the flick from Half-Life Alyx. It's kind of like that, but obviously not as tactile, but it is still very satisfying. let's see. Soji also said RE4 VR. Oh, he says RE4 VR was pretty mid. So I can't speak. Yeah, I don't know if we would agree with you on that one either.
Yeah, I played that. That shit was cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't Half-Life Alyx because it wasn't like as mechanically deep, but it was very fun to, play RE4 in VR.
Yeah.
Combat was.
And then we got into a big conversation in Discord today too about backwards compatibility, but I do think that's not going to be as big of an issue here because, like we said earlier, like the PSVR 1 was just a totally different kind of tech, and unless they completely
it doesn't, but they're making
the
fact that they're making you pay for that shit again. I don't care if it's old tech. You own that fucking game license. Then what the fuck? Why are they making you paying? It's weird.
Is that on a developer?
You were on a PlayStation
on a case-by-case
store
basis though. Like, can a developer choose to just give it to you if you've already paid for it on?
Yeah, they can. There are some games that are getting like free just updates.
Resident Evil Village is one of them.
Actual PS. So they're getting updates, or they're getting just another version.
No,
well,
it can't
just be
announced
updated.
that they're doing a PSVR2 version.
Is that a free update? I mean, most of their updates have been free, haven't they?
Yeah. It's part of the whatever the next big update is.
I wouldn't mind trying No Man's Sky in VR. I keep wanting to.
It's sick. It's really sick. I played it on the PSVR 1. It's a really cool way to play.
Nice.
I mean, it gives you controls and stuff in the fighter, in your ship. So when you go to warp, you're actually pushing a handle forward.
Yes,
and,
that's what I want.
It's sounds... to turn on your scanner, you literally grab it and put it in front of your face and
yeah, that sounds rad.
We need a steel battalion that does this very thing.
Oh, Gonzo Lude.
They made that. Look, I gotta be honest with y'all, and maybe I'm part of this problem too, but I feel like all of us, there's a lot we just haven't played nearly enough VR stuff that's out there. And I feel like we're getting excited by a lot of shit that already exists, that's already really, really cool. And maybe it's because it's cost prohibitive, or maybe because setting up, PC VR is such a pain in the ass, we just say fucking and don't do it. But a lot, when he's talking about mechs and thrusting, dude, there's so much cool VR shit out there already.
You're right. You're absolutely right. I do want to be clear. I'm not trying to make this sound like this is some revelatory piece of hardware.
There's hardly a game like No Man's Sky out there on regular consoles.
True.
Yeah, but true. No Man's Sky VR is a thing that's already out.
Yeah. Well, that's why I was telling Nick it's sick, because I played it a long time ago.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead.
A nice PC and a nice VR headset, and you could have been doing this stuff already. You just chose not to.
We're not rich, by the way. Everyone listening, we are not rich men. Except
speak for yourself.
We
Crispy.
can't afford fancy VR headsets.
Gonzo Lude did mention Ace Combat 7 in VR, which I did play a little bit of on PSVR 1, and I would love to try that again.
I'm still upset that they never ported that to PC. I would love to experience that.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. It's pretty cute. All right,
let's
wrap it up.
Project Wingman can be played entirely in VR, and that is awesome.
Have you played it in VR?
Yes, and it is awesome.
Did you play all of it in VR?
No, I played several missions.
This is why VR won't win. Because we all have it, we just don't fucking play it.
I'm gonna be honest. I am gonna be honest. Is that the PSVR 1? One of the reasons why I stopped using it so quickly is because I didn't. When I was using it primarily, I was in a smaller room. I didn't have a lot of room, so I wouldn't leave it hooked up all the time. And the thought of plugging that thing in just completely made me not want to use it because it was such a cluster. This thing is just plugging it into the USB-C port and going makes it so much more accessible, even more so than my PC headset, because my PC headset is also connected to Facebook now. I don't have a Facebook account, and this is a fucking pain in the ass. So while I love my Oculus, I do love my Oculus. I haven't used it as much as I would like. This is now my most accessible headset.
I will also jump on the fact that the whole like Facebook Oculus thing is very like it's a huge turnoff.
Yeah, but
it is.
But I did consider, dude. I did consider like getting a Quest and going wireless because that does sound really nice.
No, don't buy any more VR headsets. You gotta go.
I need more.
The one you
Give
got.
me more headsets.
He's gonna wear them all at the same time.
You should buy a Vita too, Nick.
Is Crispy frozen?
Yeah, he's dead.
Oh no!
He's just very still.
I hope
the recording. Frozen? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Wait, okay. Your video's frozen, but your audio's fine. That's all. Wait. All right. Let's wrap up. Don't touch anything. I don't want to break the recording because we are doing this a little differently than we normally do. All right. Let's wrap up the show. Let's wrap up the show with the 4-player minute, guys. Brad, I'm gonna let you go first as usual. You know how it works. What's your final thought? Go.
My 4-player minute for this week, I guess, is just me briefly mentioning how sad I think it is that certain people left certain studios.
Yep.
One is Shinji Mikami left Tango, the founder of Tango left Tango, and I don't know. That's sad. I feel that's sad. I know he kind of like stepped back and was more just like more of a producer, mentor role or whatever, while the young blood make their games and stuff. But still, like he left the company. I mean, what does that mean? Why is he starting something new?
No, he's retiring. He announced years ago that he intended to retire, that he wanted to use Tango to build up the next generation of developers. He cashed in all of his stock options with Bethesda, last year, the year before that. He's done. Here's
the thing. I've heard
he fucking made it, dude.
No, stop it. I've heard dozens of video game developers retire and then they like show up on some Kickstarter a couple of years later.
Yeah, because they're fucking sick in the head.
Or they're bored. Like he's gonna retire for about 2 years, and then be like, okay.
It's just after Hi-Fi Rush, I feel like they finally got some momentum. Maybe Microsoft wasn't gonna shut them down anymore.
That wasn't...
Well, it does suck. It does suck.
I mean, it sucks that he's just so young to retire. And you think about so many other much older developers like Shigeru Miyamoto, fantastic figure in gaming history. The man's 70 years old.
Yeah, but let's be honest. He's not like making video games these days. He's like a corporate ambassador for Nintendo.
I can't believe this guy would want to cash in on his wealth and retire and live a happy life. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Audacity.
Who gives him the right to live a happy life? He needs to make games for me.
He did the one thing none of us can do. He got out.
Well, I don't know. It seems like I don't know. He's 57. He's not that old.
Brad, I don't know. If you could retire at 57, would you not?
I mean, am I running my own game studio? I don't know.
If you could not work another day in your life starting at 57, would you not?
Hell yeah.
Well, that was 5 years ago for Brad. So
I mean, I don't know. It depends. Do I love what I do or do I not?
All right. Who says he loves what he does anymore?
We're hijacking Brad.
But like it's still kind of sad,
It is sad. It is sad. But I mean, I'm happy for the man.
Like I said, I feel like Tango had such a good moment, and I feel like this is. I mean, I guess he's going out on a high note, right? He
also wasn't super involved
mentoree
with Hi-Fi Rush.
I mean, no, that dude who he's also the director of Evil Within 2, that was kind of like his mentoree or whatever. That was his
mentee,
his Kamiya. That was his Tango, whatever. The other person, which is probably sadder because he didn't retire, I don't think, it was really sad to find out Jake Solomon left Firaxis, who is sort of like the lead designer on like kind of your modern XCOM games, and of course Marvel's Midnight Suns, which is a really cool game, but it was like a huge bomb, like financial bomb.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't know if he was pushed out or if he just said, some people have like a big failure and then they'll kind of use that time to kind of move on to something new. And I feel really bad because that game actually ended up being pretty cool. And, I think the modern XCOM games are, some of the best fucking games out there, honestly. So sad to see Jake Solomon leave. I don't know where he's going to end up. Maybe he's just going to go off and build a baseball field in the fucking cornfield or whatever, like Shinji Mikami is, but probably not. That is what I imagine Shinji Mikami doing. Maybe it's because of the baseball cap he always wears. I don't know.
Oh, I was like, that's an interesting choice. But I can see how you I can see how you got there. All right, Chris Davis, why don't you go next?
Well, I could just spend so many minutes talking about how right I was and dabbing on the haters. But what I would like to talk about,
you have been right about nothing yet.
Don't let the man speak.
I did want to mention some hot new rumors and news that popped up today. Konami, as being reported by Andy Robinson at VGC, has done some reporting over the past several months, and according to him, Konami intends, if E3 keeps going, and it's actually going to happen, they intend to have a rather, quote, big show in which they will reveal a new Castlevania game and a remake of Metal Gear Solid 3.
Well,
Metal Gear Solid 3 has been rumored for years, but evidently the Castlevania game is the furthest project along in Konami's catalog.
Isn't that rumor also like kind of bounced around between a remake of the original as well? Metal Gear Solid?
That was rumored as well, but that evidently is, if that is true, it's been outsourced to another developer.
I've seen the Metal Gear Solid 3
They don't have any
thing.
fucking studios left. Of course, it's fucking outsourced.
I've seen the Metal Gear Solid 3 pop up a few times in different places.
Yeah.
At this point, they need the Metal Gear Solid, the OG remake, because Psycho Mantis has to say, "I see you like to play the remake of Castlevania."
That's
Yeah,
true.
something
That's
like
true.
that.
It's a good fucking point.
Well,
They backed
evidently,
themselves into a corner.
Evidently, Konami has no studios left, so who's making this fucking Castlevania game?
I mean, who
Hopefully
knows?
not Mercury Steam.
I mean, Mercury Steam can always take more from you, Nick. I learned that from Brad.
Hey, they made Metroid Dread, and it was great.
Yeah.
So,
Brad is just kind of looking.
It was good until Metroid Prime came out again, and people remember what Metroid was supposed to be like. Hey, whatever.
The other thing about the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake is evidently that is going to be the foundation for them to see. It's going to be their bellwether for their future Metal Gear projects.
To see if anybody
just bellwether.
It's
to determine if anybody still has interest in Metal Gear Solid in a post Kojima Metal Gear Solid world.
I just don't know that term. Okay,
a bellwether? I think I've heard that.
Yeah,
are we crazy, Chad?
It's a test to the waters to see if their audience is willing to buy into new Metal Gear games.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what Metal Gear Solid looks like without Kojima.
I mean, yeah, you do. It's Survive.
I don't want that. I do not want more of that. So
I think they're gonna have to do like a Silent Hill thing and get a bunch of other random developers to like maybe take a crack at it. But you're right. I mean, it's not Metal Gear without that weird Kojima shit.
To Mr. Papa Shot in chat's point, just because people like a remake of an old Kojima game does not mean they're going to want a new Metal Gear game that's made without Kojima. Those are two very different things.
Very true.
But it is not outside the realm of possibility that someone who is not Kojima could leave their own impressive mark on that franchise.
Isn't Blue Point rumored to do the Metal Gear remake?
That's been a rumor for quite some time. Yes. I don't know how much truth there is.
Do you trust Blue Point, a remake,
dude,
a remaster remake studio to make a new Metal Gear game? What are you talking about?
Yes.
Make a new Metal Gear game. No. The rumor has been that they were making a remake of Metal Gear Solid 1. That's a different thing. We've never seen them do an original title, so I don't fucking know.
But what if in this one it turns out there was actually a second bomb in her vagina and it blows up and that totally doesn't get spoiled for you.
Yeah, like
what if it's in VR and you got to reach into your own vagina to get the bomb out? And if you don't have one, you got to use your butthole. So either way, you got to get it out.
You're not gonna make me feel bad for spoiling a fucking demo 10 years after the fact.
Hey,
like,
let's be real. We're still getting a lot of mileage out of that hilarious moment. So
like
I'm glad it happened.
I don't want to turn this into a referendum about Kojima, but like, he started doing some problematic stuff and story writing in his content, 10, 15 years ago. And it's I don't know, man. It's I think I could.
Have you played Police Nuts? Because there's some pretty interesting shit.
Oh no, there's problematic stuff throughout there, his entire body of work, but it starts to get really egregious in my opinion, starting with Metal Gear Solid 4. But like, I think a Konami made or a non-Kojima Metal Gear Solid game, I think it could be good.
I'm willing to give some. I would love to see Metal Gear Solid make a return. I'll just leave it at that. Obviously Kojima wouldn't be a part of that.
On the planet could be good. You could say, like, name a franchise and say, I bet some other random studio can make that.
But Brad, that is my thing. Like, I am the glass half full. That is what I do. It could be good.
At least I'm saying you could say that about anything. At least admit that more so than other like IP out there, like Kojima's odd touching on that franchise is part of what makes Metal Gear.
Yeah,
and it's I don't know. And you're right. Somebody else might make a cool game, but it's not going to be like a Kojima game. And I feel like if they try to make a Kojima game, that's just going to be like weird and awkward. So like maybe they should just make a cool game. And of course, it could be cool. Anybody, Castlevania could be cool by, a bunch of random developers, because in your mind, you're dreaming about your favorite one and not Mercury Steam.
Okay. Real talk here for a second. Because we're recording this podcast a little bit differently than normal and Brad has to bounce at 11. I'm assuming that's still the case, Brad. I don't know what that means in terms of the recording. So let's try and wrap this up in the next 5 minutes.
Shit. I'm sorry.
No. I'm just saying, I don't know what would happen if you were to suddenly leave the call. I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Because we're doing it totally different than we normally do. So I don't want to risk it. So, Nolan, very quickly, then. It's your turn.
Yep. Very quickly. So all this VR talk has kind of got me a little nostalgic for playing VR games, and I think maybe in the next week or two I might want to check some of them out and revisit some of the ones. There's been a whole lot of VR games that have come out since the last time I played, and I do remember enjoying most of my time with VR, so I'm probably going to check that out again. My other I'll give a hype to this weekend is the Pokemon Go Hoenn Tour worldwide event. So Bernadette and I will be participating in that. Nice. Pretty excited for all of the exclusive stuff this weekend. Got those primal raids going on. And then my other I do want to check out Like a Dragon Ishin. I need to kind of get around to playing that. I just haven't gotten a chance yet. So I'm probably gonna be trying that one out as well.
Sweet. Good times.
Excited.
Good times. All right, Crispy, it's all you.
Yo, this is it, boys. We are within the final week before the launch of Destiny 2 Lightfall. Woo!
And we'll never see Crispy again.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. My computer's been out of commission for like, I don't know, 3 weeks now, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
All I've been doing since then is playing Destiny. All I've been doing, and
So
I mean like going hard on it. Like joined the Destiny LFG Discord and have been like hopping on like in raids with like random people at like 1 a.m. And let me tell you something, that is a humbling, infuriating, myopic experience. I fucking hate people who play Destiny.
We're being honest. That's funny.
It's insane. It's insane. But Lightfall looks fucking dope. They released the launch trailer today. State of play looks so fucking cool. The season 19, season of the Seraph just wrapped up, and honestly, like, I've been away from Destiny for about a year now. The content quality is much better. This season was probably one of the most successful seasons they've done since they started doing them. And this also happened to be the first season that they produced entirely work from home. So, like,
wow,
that's kind of cool on Bungie's part.
Yeah.
Like pretty sick. I don't know, man. I'm just like still so in love with this game, and I'm playing it, and it's like all I can think about is you guys just being like, "Ugh, Destiny," and like it's like oh, just night and day. Like the kind of stuff that you guys used to give this game shit for just doesn't. It's just
doesn't exist anymore.
doesn't exist anymore. Like, honestly, like, the story is so compelling to me now. Like, it's so fucking cool. It, like, something about Bungie, just like they know how to make this vibe that just really gets me, like, right here. I just love it so much. Can't wait.
I totally get it.
Yeah, fuck you guys, basically.
All right.
Cool.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Duly noted.
Well,
But also, hopefully by next week, my computer will be built, and I will be
a gaming
back
god.
into a more normal podcasting setup instead of on this little
we look forward to that.
workstation here.
We definitely look forward to that. So for my 4-player minute, I guess it's building off of what Crispy just said in terms of like a game that just speaks to you with a vibe. I totally get that. You know, there's a lot of games that I would say have stuck out to me over the years because they just speak to me on a certain level. And to my surprise, I'm gonna be honest, totally honest here. I thought that game, and to some extent it is, but I thought the game to beat for me this year was going to be Hogwarts. But Atomic Heart, I can't stop thinking about it since I started playing it. Yeah, dude,
It overtook
loving
the Big H.
The Big H, I guess. I mean, I haven't touched.
That's what they called me in high school.
Yeah,
I really haven't touched Hogwarts since I started playing. I mean, that's really just mostly because I don't have time to be juggling like 4 games at a time, which I now am now that I've started Horizon as well. And you know, Atomic Heart is just really kind of, it speaks to me on that same level, that it speaks to me in the same way that BioShock does. And I can't stress this, in like the art direction in that game is astonishing. It's one of those games that when they were showing it, I was like, this looks too good to be real. And I'm really blown away by just how close it actually is to what they showed. I totally did not see that coming out of left field. So yeah, I guess my hype is to keep going with Atomic Heart, and hopefully it doesn't completely fumble the landing or take a hard left turn at some point. We'll see what happens, but right now it's up there. Also, shout out to Hi-Fi Rush. I finished that this week. That game is also,
how did that wrap up?
That game is, oh my god, dude,
fucking great.
That game keeps getting better and better and better and better, and it crescendos. That last level is one of the coolest fucking things of it. Like, it was insane. Like, the best anime music video ever made. And it's completely interactive and just so good. So fucking good. I love Hi-Fi. Like, I do not see a world in which Hi-Fi Rush is not on my top 10. Not high on my top 10.
I'm proud of you. Because that doesn't seem like a Nick game, but its quality exceeded, even can make you like a colorful game or something.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know. It's just I'm happy for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Everybody should play Hi-Fi Rush.
I've never heard of it.
Especially if you have Game Pass. Like, it's crazy to me that Hi-Fi Rush, Atomic Heart, easily two of my favorite games I've played so far this year, both Game Pass. Like, didn't see that coming either. So absolutely bananas.
Yeah.
Anyways,
so you hear the news that never mind. We got to
hold that thought. All right. We need to go ahead and wrap it up tonight, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Of course, if you want to find us, you can find us on 4playernetwork.com. The community is super active in Discord, though. Make sure you're there at discord.gg/4player. We would love to have you. Come say hi. Drop a line in the introduction channels. Introduce yourself. We'd love to hear from you. Maybe tell us what you're playing. We always love to hear that stuff. And we will return next week to talk about more video games. So don't miss that next Thursday night. And in the meantime, guys, just be good to each other, play video games, and we'll see you next week. Good night.